when we get to decisions time.
Ruben, can I just ask you about today's opponents? Obviously last year an amazing run, and again this season 5-1 winners the opening day. Have you planned anything different, or do you just concentrate on yourself today?
No, I think overall we always are flexible to whoever we're playing against. Obviously that doesn't take away the fact that we always are who we are, but obviously and especially today the team we're playing against, it obviously makes you be flexible and makes you, or you should be aware of, you should be really paying attention to the details, because they're a team that punishes you in the details. So we know what we're going for. It's another war, and we'll be there for you.
Well, enjoy being back in front of your home fans and celebrating with them, Ruben. Thank you very much. We're going to get all the team news now, and Jules Breach can bring us that alongside Ali McCoist.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yes, Ali's also made the trip over from Athens. Much better temperature for you in Manchester than out there.
This suits me perfectly. Perfectly.
Let's take a look at those teams now then, and it's 2 changes for Manchester City from that Super Cup win. The big boost is that man that we just saw there, Ruben Dias. He's back in the back line for Manchester City. He comes in for 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, and the other change is that Cole Palmer's on the bench and Alvarez starts ahead of him. For Newcastle, no changes.
Yep.
They're completely unchanged from their 5-1 opening day victory. Let's start with the home team then, Ali. What's the headline for you? Is it Diaz starting, or do you think it's a bit of a surprise to see Palmer left out?
A little bit of both, to be honest with you, Jules. I felt immediately after the game on Wednesday night, I said to Fletch, I thought Stones and Diaz would come back in straight away. Obviously Stones hasn't made it due to a fitness issue. Diaz, no surprise really coming back in. Because Pep didn't make an awful lot of changes. He made them some late on Wednesday night, which surprised me a little bit. In terms of Palmer, you know, I think he can consider himself, you know, a little bit unlucky. You've got to be honest. He played very, very well on Wednesday. Scored on Wednesday. Scored in the Community Shield. If you're going to lose your place, I suppose you're better losing it to a World Cup winner than anybody else. So he can definitely consider himself unlucky.
Obviously, we've seen that Kevin De Bruyne has now had that surgery on his hamstring, so he's going to be out until the new year, we think. This City side are going to have to learn to cope without him. Do you think they can do that with the players they have?
Yeah, I certainly do. I'm not convinced that they're as strong as they were last year. I think they will suffer from the loss of Gundogan, no doubt about that, and also Mahrez. But particularly, you and I spoke about it on Wednesday night, they're going to have to handle the loss of De Bruyne, particularly Haaland. Haaland was very, very quiet on Wednesday, and which probably means he will be batting all sorts of goals in today. But he is the one player in the City team that I think will miss De Bruyne more than anybody.
For Newcastle, it's the same forwards that started the last game. Is this the perfect example of competition for places, making everyone better?
Jules, absolutely. Wilson and Barnes on the bench. They come off the bench and scored last week. This club is flying.
They really are. In fact, Lindsay is with someone right now who can give us a little bit more insight into that Newcastle team.
Yes, thank you very much, Jules. We've all made it here pitch side, and we're very happy to say that. The Newcastle boss, Eddie Howe, is with us now. Eddie, you've got such good options at the moment, but did it make it a little bit easier for you to stick with that winning team after such an impressive performance?
Yeah, I think ultimately I looked at it, and the team performed really well last week. There weren't many weaknesses in our play and our style, so I've gone with the same team, but always with looking at the opposition and trying to give us the best chance to win this match.
Do you feel the expectation levels have changed already after that, and how do you manage that?
Not for us. I think we're stuck in a working environment where we're just pushing each other every day to try and win as many games as we can. I'll let you guys sort of do what you do in terms of how you build teams up, but for us it's just about trying to win each match.
You look at the opposition today, they had a big game in midweek. Obviously, conditions very, very warm and hot. Fatigue maybe play a part today, even though at the beginning of the season. Does that play a part in the way that you approach this game, given that you are a real aggressive, dynamic team?
I think we're aware of it, but in my previous experience, it doesn't count for anything. So I've had games where we've had superior rest and games where we haven't, and the results have always been mixed. So look, they're the best team in the land, and they've proved that historically. They're very consistent. We know this is probably the toughest game we'll have away from home this year. Yeah, our style will be our style, and we'll try and impose ourselves on them, but it will be a really difficult game.
Can I just ask you about the new signings, Eddie? Obviously, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲 got off to a great start, Harvey Barnes as well. How have you managed to integrate them so well? And I thought, obviously, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲, with Italian football, you thought he might take some time to kind of get used to it, but he seemed to be right involved. How have you managed to do that?
Well, I think the pre-season definitely helped us and helped them, so they're able to be exposed to our training for long periods. We had some really good quality pre-season games against Premier League teams, which I think really accelerated their learning of what we want to do, how we want to play, and the adjustment to the Premier League. So Sandro started really well last week. Let's see how he goes today. This will be the toughest test for him. But really excited about the new players. I think they've all added a different dynamic for us.
What's he been like to coach Sandro 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲, and how well has he fitted in with what is a really tight-knit group?
Yeah, he's already built friendships. He's been really good to coach. I've really enjoyed it. I think he's very receptive. He's very keen to learn, very open. I think he enjoys our style. And hopefully you'll get a glimpse of that today, and hopefully he performs well.
How did he find Wetherspoons, by the way?
Yeah, I think that one was a strange experience for him. I don't think he quite knew what he was going into.
It's not one that he would have picked, I'm sure.
No, I don't think that was him. But I think that's one of the beauties. He's coming into a new town, a new city, but he's settling in really well, apart from the odd little blip there.
I'm sure someone must have put him into that, and then he didn't choose that because he's going back at.
What's wrong with Wetherspoons?
I think it was Crouchy.
Exactly, Crouchy will be in there.
I've been in there.
But it just shows you that the atmosphere, the environment, the culture you got at your football club, it seems like a really tight-knit, and you can see that in the way that players come off the bench and impact games. How do you generate that?
Well, I think we're very clear with what we expect, and I think if you let people, human beings, players, know what you expect in any situation, hopefully they can respond as you want them to. So we believe in that our squad's going to be hugely important this year with the games we've got in the Champions League. So everyone's involved. We want everyone to feel part of it, whether they're starting or not starting, and then ready to make an impact when they come on.
And you said that Man City are the benchmark. Their home record is unbelievable here, and Newcastle's record at the Etihad is pretty atrocious, if we're honest. What do you want to see tonight in terms of progress?
Well, last year we came here, we lost 2-0, and I thought we performed really well. We gave them a really good game. Ultimately, we didn't get the defining moments right. They scored 2 goals, we missed a few chances. So we need to tighten up. Defensively, we're going to have to be perfect, and when the moments come, we're going to need to be clinical.
Eddie, thank you very much. Best of luck tonight.
Cheers, Eddie. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. It is, of course, an 8 o'clock kickoff here. Newcastle taking on Manchester City, and last weekend, Newcastle United were right on the money. Harvey Barnes, 5th, the icing on the cake in that 5-1 win over Aston Villa. And we've got an awful lot of love for this 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Look at this, returning the celebration. Oh, it's enough to make you quiver. We'll be back soon.
title.
We climbed the highest mountain. We put the flag there, the blue flag, but we don't have to come down, go down to the mountain and start again.
Free-header Rodri, follow up by Haaland! Well, he's not taken long to settle in again, has he? Haaland, incredible, 2 goals in 35 minutes. Manchester City make it 3. The champions pick up where they left off.
The injury for Kevin is a big loss. Will be a few months out.
Now we have the Super Cup. Tomorrow is a finals opportunity. I have to go for it with desire and the same way we've done the last finals.
We can win another trophy. We're going to do everything that we can.
We are here, we are hungry enough and to compete and especially to challenge ourselves.
The Champions League winners against the Europa League winners. The Super Cup underway. There's Acuna whipping the cross in. Good goal! And Sevilla, the Europa League holders, lead Manchester City. Palmer and Manchester City equalise in the Super Cup. And we go to penalties. Here's Walker. Oh, he scores just. Here comes Goodell. Oh, he's in the bar! Manchester City have won the Super Cup.
We are really pleased to have already 1 title in this season. This title didn't have it and now we have it.
A first ever Super Cup for Manchester City. Pep, congratulations on that win in Athens. How important was it for you to bring that trophy back to Manchester?
We are so happy. It's the past, on to next.
And 2 changes from that team on Wednesday for tonight. Team ready to go?
I hope so. I hope so. I'm happy to be back after, last game last season and start the season home.
And it's another opportunity for Guardiola to start tonight, but his first Premier League start. How do you think he did on his full debut?
Well, he need time. So he didn't train with the team because he arrived, and after was immediately the finals, and hopefully after Newcastle we'll have a long week, and after Sheffield, and we'll have time to start to know each other better. But the best way to to get better is play. And Nathan come from the injury, played 90 minutes in final, and with this short recovery, we didn't want to take risks with Nathan.
And Alvarez starts tonight ahead of Cole Palmer. Why did you make that decision?
Well, Julian was injured, was niggles to the final Super Cup, was not fit. The previous games in the final against Arsenal and the Precision was outstanding, and he's fresh, and we need it. And maybe Cole for the second half is going to help us to maybe change the game.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because although it's so early in the season, Pep, this already feels like such a huge game. Does it feel like that to you?
Huge. We saw the game against Aston Villa, how good they are. It's continued what they have done, impressive last season. In a short period of time, they put the club in the level that Newcastle want to be. You're going to stay. The recruitment is fantastic, so the quality is there. But we are ready for a challenge and happy to be home.
Yes, absolutely. First home Premier League game of the season. First time the fans have been back here since you lifted the trophy, since you won the treble. How important can the fans be at the Etihad?
Well, hopefully we come back to result, enjoy what they have done, but result again for 0. They know exactly what they have to do, have to win it again. So,
good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Pep Guardiola just keeps winning again, doesn't he? He has 15 trophies with Manchester City. The Super Cup, the latest one to add to these 3 beauties which have just arrived behind us. Their 4th trophy of 2023. And talking of beauties, Ali McCoy's just popped along to see us before he heads up to commentary. Ali, you were out in Athens, of course, watching those celebrations. You could see what it meant to them. Do you think the winning almost becomes addictive?
Yes, it really does. Listening to Rio on Wednesday, it's all about good habits, and when you do win, you get a taste for it. And the most important thing is you go out and do it again. And this City team look as though they're certainly capable of doing it. They've proved it in the last 3 campaigns. It'll be interesting because I think they've lost a serious bit of quality out their side. You can argue that I don't think that at this moment they don't look as strong squad-wise as they were last year. However, they are the Super Cup champions, they're the league champions, current league champions, but they'll face a big test tonight, make no mistake about it.
What is key then, Rio, to going again, to getting the mindset and the motivation right? Who are the key voices?
I think it starts from the top. It starts from the manager. I think this club has been set up in that way. They now seem to be a machine built to win. But the manager is really the key. He starts everything. He rules the roost. He steers the ship, and the others follow. But he does need the lieutenants beneath that. And I think you can see within his team the likes of Kyle Walker, John Stones, Ruben Diaz now, among others, seem to be the drivers of this team. Kevin De Bruyne, they're driving the culture at the club in terms of winning. And that mentality has to be a day-to-day thing that happens. You can't switch that switch on and off. It's a constant that's always there. And at the moment, they're the team that do it better than anyone else.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the manager's the main superstar at this club. I think, losing tonight, for instance, with Kevin De Bruyne being out, Bernardo Silva being out, losing Mahrez during the season, Gundogan, that is 4 key players of last year. And if you're a Newcastle side full of confidence coming here today, you'd expect a bigger chance than they've had in numerous. I think they've lost 18 in a row here, so they have a real chance tonight to put a marker down and set the stall out for the remainder of the season, I think.
Those players you mentioned with Mahrez, Gundogan and De Bruyne now out, that's 83 goal involvements from last season, which is massive. How much weaker do you think they are?
I certainly think they're weaker. And you mentioned the goal involvements. But you talk about Gundogan, for example, important goals. Not a goal when it's 4-0, 5-0 up, and he gets a 6th or 5th or 6th. Top important goals at important times. You can't buy that. De Bruyne as well. The one player I feel for at the moment, believe it or not, is Haaland. Right? He was very, very quiet on Wednesday. He's capable of just turning a game like that. But I think he'll miss De Bruyne probably more than most in the City side for that one round the corner in front of the goalkeeper, behind the back, 2 centre-backs, the slide rule pass through. They're definitely, in my opinion, slightly weaker. You guys are strikers. How much will you miss that? I mean, you've got some players that you look at say that Salah or an Mbappe, these guys can create something on their own out of nothing. I think Haaland's said it himself that he likes to have the creativity. He relies on that so much. How do you then change if the creativity, in terms of the amount of numbers, the volume those guys are giving him, changes? It's difficult, I think, Rio. Particularly, we watched the game on Wednesday. Wednesday was a perfect example. The opening goal, and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 gets a cross ball. It's just a great delivery in and a great header. I think City need to, I know it sounds crazy, they need to attempt to do that more. I think they always try to score the perfect goal, whether it's a through ball. The goal they got, obviously, Cole Palmer was a lovely header, but somebody like Haaland, but like yourself, Crouchy, he can drift between defenders, whether it's the left back and the left centre back, and attack things. They just sometimes, to me, listen, they scored 152 goals last year, so they're doing plenty right, but I just think sometimes have a chance, put a ball in the box.
I think sometimes they can be too safe as well. I saw a stat recently, De Bruyne, I think, gave the ball away the most, other than Haaland, in the City team. That's because he's trying things. He's trying to put, the delivery, he's trying to break lines, he's trying difficult things, where sometimes it can be a bit safe. And I think, as a striker, you want people trying those difficult things.
I think if you're at Newcastle, I think this is, licking your lips is probably a bit too far, because we know what they can do here at Manchester City. But when you mention those names that aren't in this team and this squad now, you've got to be sitting there and going, that's your team talk done. There's no better time to be coming here. If Newcastle can play their game, which is aggressive, it's fast, it's dynamic, right up against this team, I think they have a huge chance. This is their best chance they've had for so long. Aligned to the fact what you mentioned as well, they're just coming off a game on Wednesday night where
scorching.
It was energy sapping. You never
it
come
really
outside.
I thought I handled it particularly well to heat myself.
With your hand pan.
If we'd have got a close-up, it'd have been unbelievable.
But that aside, it might be a crazy thing to say, but from where you're standing right now, you probably think, if you read how, it's as good a time as any you would think to meet City.
And Pep really seems to thrive on coming up with the next innovation and different ways to refresh the team. We've already seen Ederson coming out as a centre-back in pre-season and in that game against Burnley as well. How much do you think he enjoys that challenge?
I think that's him. That is Pep. That's the genius of Pep. I think he enjoys throwing something new into the mix. Everything's... You look at him and you think, you know what, he's done the treble, he's completed the game, he's clocked the game. But he'll be looking on his sunbed somewhere in the summer going, do you know what, there's something else I'm going to throw into the mix. I don't know what that is yet. It might be unlocking a Foden to get more than 15 goals this season. It might be unlocking someone like Jack, who got 5 last season, now he's going to get 20. I mean, it's something like that, just change the dynamic of this whole team.
This is a huge opportunity for Foden, I think. With the players being out, the creativity, for him to take the mantle and really become the player we thought he was going to be really in the last few years.
Has he imposed himself enough when he's had that opportunity before?
Do you know what? He's been a top player. He's won everything at such a young age. But I think the time for him to kind of mature and be, almost that linchpin, that kind of De Bruyne. If De Bruyne is out, then Foden could step in. Maybe it's that central area. He's flattered to deceive a little bit. Maybe the signing of Grealish, and I think with those players moving on, I think he's really got a chance to impose himself now.
I think the manager's always found a reason to take him out of the team.
Yeah.
You look at Gundogan in the big games, De Bruyne at Haaland, they all play. Yeah. Phil's got to do something to make sure that he is the mainstay and he's one of the first names on the pitch, and he's not the one always to be shuffled. You know what I mean?
I think that's 100%. I think a key thing as well, responsibility. Foden's a tremendous player, tremendous talent. But you mentioned De Bruyne and Gundogan. These are players that would grab a game, do something in a game with a scruff of the neck and the ability to do it. Phil Foden, I think, has yet to get that full responsibility, but it's in there.
How many of these are back here next season, Ali?
Oh, I tell you.
And how many are in Newcastle?
I knew she'd get
I'll tell you right now, Lindsay, you're quite right, well within your rights to mention Newcastle. The only thing I would say that might go against Newcastle is European football as well, Champions League football. City are used to it.
Yes, they have to manage that juggle. Ali, we'll let you head off to see what sweets Fletcher's got for you in the commentary box today. Enjoy the game as the Newcastle players head out for their warm-up at the Etihad today. They do have a bad record at this stadium, but they will be feeling very confident after their opening day performance. We'll chat the Magpies when we come back. Hello, welcome back to the Etihad. A reminder of our Premier League fixtures over the next few Saturdays. We're on the South Coast next weekend for Bournemouth against Spurs, and we're back in the lunchtime slot with a 12:30 kickoff. Right now, though, we're building up to Manchester City against Newcastle. The away team were the standout side from match week 1. Eddie Howe's relentless team are looking to shake up the established order at the top of the Premier League.
Newcastle aiming high and dreaming big, far beyond the usual suspects.
Now there is belief once again that anything is possible. Europe, here we come. Newcastle are fueled by stark improvement and the promise of more.
Newcastle lead! Look at the smile for every Newcastle fan here. Absolute bedlam at St James's Park. Oh, it's more! A huge win for Newcastle United. A team revived, a city revived. Newcastle are going places.
Yeah, hoping to get a result tonight. We have a full-time result as well from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs have beaten Manchester United 2-0. Sarr with the Spurs goal and Martinez OG for the second one.
Let's move on.
Never in doubt, Lindsay.
Well, actually, on that subject, do we think it's a big 7 now, or still a big 6 with perhaps Newcastle replacing Man United?
Oh, let's move on. Let's move on. No, listen, it's early in the season. That's all I can say. I've got nothing to say.
Big 7 now, Peter, do you think?
Yeah, listen, Newcastle are in the mix, 100%. You know, United, you'd expect them to be there or thereabouts, but that's a big win for Tottenham. You know, I think the new manager coming in, some of the signings they've made, I think they'll be a lot better than they were last year.
Who would have thought Spurs would have been that much better without Harry Kane, eh?
You're a bad loser, Rio, aren't you, still?
Top team now.
Well, Newcastle, first Champions League season as well. Of course, as Ali was saying, it all depends on how they manage that. The first one in 20 years. They have spent big to try and manage that, around 125 million. Yeah. How do you rate their transfer window?
I'll be honest, I'm really excited about Newcastle. I think they're we remember going there as players. It's such an infectious city in terms of football. And then when the team start doing well, the way that place comes alive. They've got a fantastic manager who's come in, who many doubted when he came in. And now he's building a really, really good team. And the way they've gone about their business in the transfer market has been really, really good. They've been efficient. They've been quick with what they've done. They know exactly the type of player that they want. And they're players that seem to just kind of slot in, as Crouchy, when he was speaking to Eddie earlier, just slot into the squad. And listen, I think they're going to be there or thereabouts in definitely Champions League places and fighting for that all season. But I'm interested to see how they navigate Champions League football, cup competitions that they'll want to go deep in now.
There's some hard matches because they're in top 4 as well.
Exactly. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be grueling, but you want to be at that part of the season. You want to be involved in those games, and you want to test yourself physically and mentally throughout the season because you're fighting for trophies. I think someone's trying to hit us with balls at the moment.
Yeah. Nick Pope's done it twice there.
Not the best of his feet, Pope, is he? Look, come on, mate.
Great goalkeeper, but I'll be honest with you, the feet aren't his forte.
Crouchy, on those new signings, Tonali hit the ground running, didn't he? Was that debut almost perfect?
It's unbelievable, it really was. I think with Harvey Barnes scoring, you know, Tonali, I thought Tonali might take some time to settle. You know, Italian football maybe a lot slower, especially the way Newcastle play, kind of the atmosphere. We're used to a big atmosphere, obviously, the San Siro, but
he's still learning the language as well.
Exactly right.
He's got to learn Geordie on top
of that. He does, exactly. So I thought it might take time, but, you know, to play the way he did, to get his goal, you know, it's a great place to play football at the moment, Newcastle. And
I think this is somewhere, sorry, Crouch, I think this is somewhere some players could get lost in the atmosphere and it can eat them up because these guys, they're so demanding up there and they can get on top of the players, especially if you don't start well. But you've got to remember he's come from Milan, where they played in Milan derbies, etc. So he's used to hot atmospheres and he's been brilliant.
What I like about him, you know, he's beautiful on the ball, like a Pirlo-esque. You know, he can pass, he sees a pass, he can dictate a game. But you know what? He's not afraid to put his foot in. He's not afraid to work. You know,
he says he's more Gattuso. I think a lot of people say Pirlo because of the hair.
No, honestly,
Who said that? Him? Did he?
Yeah, but I think he's got much more.
He was his hero when he was growing up.
I think he's got more on the ball. I think he's got more to offer with the ball. Definitely. I think he's got soft feet. I wouldn't say Gattuso had them. But I think he brings different elements to the game. I agree with Crouchy. I worried about the pace of the game maybe being too much for him early on. But again, that's a sign of a good professional, really in tune with it, understands already the Premier League, or there's someone in that squad's been talking to him, making sure he's well aware you've got to start at a fast pace. Because this is what the DNA of this football club is right now, a fast-paced, dynamic, aggressive team. And they're fit
And the strikers are going to love playing with him as well. Isak off to a flyer as well, Peter, with 2 goals. With Harry Kane now in the Bundesliga, do you think he could really challenge Haaland for the Golden Boot this season?
It's not, I think that's a big shout.
I
think that's the Geordie in you, that, Lindsay, if I'm honest.
With Callum Wilson keeping the competition up.
I love Isak. I think he's a tremendous player. I do feel for Callum Wilson. I mean, Callum Wilson was, scoring goals, and Isak's come in, but he looks a level above. He's got a little bit of everything. He's a poacher. He scores classy goals. He holds the ball up well. He's got enough pace to get in behind. He's a real top player. I mean, this finish here, obviously, reading the defensive mistake, but the presence of mind, the ability to dink the goalkeeper in the way he does. I love the way he plays football. But you know what? It's a great place to play football in a minute. There's players playing with full of confidence, and it's a great time for them to play Manchester City, I think.
I think you look at the table there, look at the depth they've got there. You see players that have been coming on. I think last season Jacob Murphy was fundamental in making sure he comes on and impacts games. But you've seen already Harvey Barnes can do it. It's a group of players there that you think to yourself, well, there's quality, but they're all physically tip-top. And to play against that, you're going to be physically tested, no doubt, before anything when you play against Newcastle. Can you live up to the physicality that they bring every single week? If you can't, you get rolled over.
Because that intensity is a real hallmark of this side under Eddie Howe, and looking at the options he's got there, Peter, they've got the players to maintain it.
Yeah, and I think it's credit to recruitment. I think with the new owners that have come in, they could have been even in for players like Mbappe. See these star names coming in. They might not fit to the ethos of what Eddie Howe is doing. I think all the players that they've signed have bought into exactly what they're trying to achieve. They're the right kind of characters as well as the players. Harvey Barnes being another example of that.
And a huge thing as well is that a club that gets an ownership that we've got here with the Saudis, no one would have been surprised if they'd gone and splashed huge cash on an individual. That would have been a superstar status signing. But the likes of Dan Ashworth, who's coming behind the scenes, the recruitment staff that support him, they've done a remarkable job in really being kind of economical at times. To say
Pep was saying they've signed smartly.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I said, people are signing players for £115 million nowadays. They could easily have got sucked into that, but they haven't.
Tonali looking a bit of a steal at the moment. We'll see how he does on his second game this evening at the Etihad here. A win or a result here would be a big statement for Newcastle, but history is really not on their side. They've never won here in the Premier League, and they've lost on their last 14 visits. Is it going to be a familiar downbeat return journey to the northeast for the Toon Army tonight? Or maybe not. Welcome back to the Etihad as we wrap up the day's Premier League action. Nottingham Forest got their first points of the season last night, beating Sheffield United. Liverpool had a 3-1 win over Bournemouth earlier. Brighton have started the season like a train. Another 4-1 win for them today. And a little earlier, Tottenham beat Manchester United by 2-0. And we are about 20 minutes away from kick-off here in Manchester. The headlines from the home side's team news are 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is back into the City defence, in for Ake. And 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 makes his first Premier League start after signing this summer from Leipzig. And Cole Palmer drops out of the side onto the bench. Julian Alvarez in the lineup. Well, for Newcastle, they remain unchanged from that 5-1 win over Villa, which means there is another chance for Sandro Tonali to impress the travelling Toon army. Alexander Isak is up front, looking to add to his 2 goals already this season. And Anthony Gordon keeps his place on the left with Harvey Barnes on the bench. Feels like a really big game, doesn't it, Peter, even though we're only on match week 2. Do you think there's a real chance for either to put down a real marker tonight?
Yeah, I really do, yeah. Newcastle are just full of confidence, and like we say, there's key players out for Manchester City. You know, although we keep saying it, Newcastle have a chance, it's still Manchester City. These are the treble winners. These are the trailblazers of last year. They have so much ability, so much talent. The reason we're saying there's a chance is because the confidence Newcastle are playing with at the moment, and City do have some key players missing.
Yeah, it's still Man City. Also, their home form is absolutely imperious. 16 wins in a row, averaging over 3 goals a game as well. But Rio, you think that Newcastle could potentially exploit the City high line tonight? Why is that?
Yeah, well, we were there for the Super Cup game the other day, and Sevilla had 2 really good chances, 1v1s against Ederson, and it was because they played really high. Walker, you see, goes tight. But if you've got players that are willing to run forward, and Sevilla did, and I think they'll see a lot of themselves in this game when they watch it back, and I'm sure they did, Newcastle. But if they were clinical in this game, Sevilla, they probably would have run out 2 or 3-1 winners. And I think that there's similarities in the way that you're going to see Newcastle approach this game. Transitions are going to be key. Once they get into these positions, Newcastle have aggressive runners who are willing to run forward. And if they can be clinical, they're going to get a chance to really have a chance of getting on the score sheet.
Yeah, ironically, Aston Villa played with the high line, really, and it was suicide. I mean, it really was. Obviously, Harvey Barnes gets in late on, so that was the early chance. But Isak, some of the pace they had. Callum Wilson comes on late. Harvey Barnes comes on. Isak, Gordon, all players. Almiron, players that have ability to expose the high line. What you have to do, and I think Aston Villa struggled, and the City at times, when there's players that on the opposition team who have got the ball in midfield or deep positions, if they've got their head up and they've got time to pick passes, as a defender you have to drop. And if Man City defenders make that mistake today, you have a team here capable of punishing them.
It's sort of roughly where we're standing on the pitch. City's average defensive line, it was the highest last season, 45.4 metres. You can see there lots of benefits, as you're saying, also risky as well. How much goes into it in terms of focus from a defensive point of view?
Concentration is key. A defender's lifespan, a lot of it relates just physically, but the concentration levels in a defender. If you can concentrate for the most periods of the game, you have a better chance of nullifying the attack. The moment you switch off is when the opposition normally get a chance, and then at this level you get punished. But this area here for a defender, it's an awkward place to be when you're playing against pace. And most teams have pace in their teams now. That's why you've got to be on it in terms of concentration. Who has the ball? What type of player has the ball? Can they deliver that ball past you? Do I need to drop? Do I need to stay up? There's so many questions, but the players at the top level can make those decisions quick are the ones that stay at the top. And
Ederson's got the pace as well. If it is broken, there was a point in that Sevilla game, he came off his line like Usain Bolt to close down the angle, Peter. How key is he to it?
Yeah, he is. You know, he plays like a sweeper. He's fantastic on the ball. We've talked even in pre-season. He was talking about playing in midfield or on the pitch. He's a fantastic player as well as a goalkeeper. But let's not forget these two teams we were saying today, Newcastle and City, had the best defensive records in the league by a long way. And yeah, it's risky at times when you play that kind of high line. When you've got the players and the ability that City have got, and the ability to recover players like Kyle Walker, then it's worth the risk.
And the risk as well, playing high, yes, it's a risk, but the intention is to win the ball as high as possible. So the back four have to be up, or back three. They have to be high, pressing the opposition when the forward players are doing so much up there. So it's going to be interesting, the styles of football here as well. One's an aggressive, dynamic team. and the one other team wants to just control the possession and the rhythm of the game. It's really interesting to see how this pans out.
And you've got 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 in there making his Premier League debut.
Yeah.
How well will he adapt to playing in this City side? What have you made of him?
Yeah, I mean, I highlighted him in the World Cup. I thought he was fantastic, bar the final when he was playing against Messi. But he's a player of huge potential, huge talent. It's going to take time, as Pep said. He hasn't had much time with the team. But he's a player who I think the pace of the game he's got to get close to. Make sure you're ready for the pace of the game, because you don't want to be coming into these games and getting surprised. I just hope they've made him well aware of the type of team he's coming up against now.
Well, before we get soaked by the sprinklers, we're going to take a quick break before this match kicks off. The Etihad awaits, and it is potentially a huge battle between two of the biggest winners from the opening weekend of the season, between Manchester City and Newcastle United. The fans here really expectant, and kick-off between City and Newcastle is coming next.
Stand by for another thunderous night. It's the best the game of football has to offer.
We on top of the world, yeah, they looking up. Know the clock ticking, we about to blow up.
Brilliant goal.
We ain't safe, got you taking cover. You been taking too long, now it's time to suffer.
What a goal!
We be going hard, we be going in.
It's an absolute beauty. It was wonderful.
We don't stop, man, it never ends. Let the show begin.
Newcastle United pull away. Shoot! Oh my word! It's a goal to take your breath away. Sometimes you cannot believe your eyes.
Yes, this one has all the ingredients to be a cracking game. We've spoken a lot about that Super Cup trip to Athens, adding the Super Cup Manchester City this week to their treble. And you can see there the trophies being brought out in front of the home fans. Mike Summerby with the FA Cup, Tommy Booth with the Premier League trophy, and Joe Corrigan with the Champions League as they celebrate in front of their home crowd, winning the treble, 4 trophies in 2023. We've spoken a lot about the heat, the travel. How big a factor do you think it's actually going to be, Rio?
I think that even without the travel and the heat of the Super Cup in Athens the other day, I always found at this stage of the season, physicality was something I would be searching for even now. Yes, you get a pre-season under your belt, but there's nothing quite gets you ready for a Premier League game than Premier League games. So I used to feel that probably fit up. It'd probably take me up until the international break, and even maybe that 1 or 2 games in there before I felt in tip-top, perfect condition. But these guys, just physically, but they understand what it is. Ruben Diaz said it before. These games still mean something. They've got to get the result by hook or by crook.
And Pep saying this is what the top teams have to do, Peter. This is the challenge, and he seems to really relish that challenge.
Yes, listen, he's been at the top for so long. You don't stay there without consistently wanting to win every single year. They've won the treble, but they're not going to rest on their laurels. Having said that, Newcastle come here full of confidence, and that's why today you just feel like this is a proper game.
If Newcastle were to get a win here at a place where they always lose, how do you think that would change how people are looking at them this season?
I think it would change people's perspective and change people's expectations for them on the outside, but I think there's such a tightly well-run unit at the moment with Eddie Howe and spearheaded that. I think they won't change anything for them behind them doors. But listen, these guys, they know what they're up against. Like you say, 14 defeats consecutively here at the Etihad against Man City. They need to do something really big, spectacular to change that today.
And they're walking out, there's this big celebration here. City showing off their might really with those 3 trophies. Do Newcastle have to really just find a way to block that out?
Yeah, but that's it. I think I'd always like to be in the Newcastle side in this. It's an opportunity for them. Manchester City are always favourites here. They're always favourites. They come here full of confidence, and they've got the opportunity here to turn over the treble winners and set a marker down for their season.
And you can see that full pitch banner. Look at that, City celebrating their achievements with their fans as they hope the good times keep on rolling here. And the teams have started to line up in the tunnel. They're getting ready to go for what should be a fascinating early season heavyweight matchup. Will Manchester City show their dominance in search of a 4th league title in a row? Or can Newcastle United lay down an early marker and show that they are very much here to compete? It's time to find out with Ali McCoist, who is alongside Darren Fletcher. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, Lindsay. Hello, everybody. What a scene we have here. We've got Hey Jude playing around the stadium, and we've got the banners being unfurled. We've got a gigantic flag across the pitch, and we've got the 3 trophies as well. The first time they've been here, Manchester City, since legs 2 and 3 of the historic treble were completed last season. Of course, pre-season took place in the Far East, and there's been such a buzz around the place today. And what a scene to walk out to, Ali, when the players emerge in a minute. I mean, the game itself is fantastic.
That really is impressive. It was great to see 3 of the
ingrained in the history of Manchester City. Mike Summerby had the FA Cup, Tommy Booth the Premier League, and Joe Corrigan the Champions League. Between them, Ali, 40 years service on the pitch for Manchester City and over 1,200 games. They couldn't really have picked 3 better men to bring them out.
No.
Since Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier, England teammates, and at the head of the respective lines today, the Etihad ready for a game that we're all looking forward to between 2 Champions League teams, of course, both of which set lofty standards. City's midweek trip to Greece brought the first trophy of this season. Tonight's challenge is to register their first significant domestic victory of the new campaign against a Newcastle side who excelled last weekend against Aston Villa.
Boys in blue, the current Premier League champions, the current holders of the FA Cup, the current champions of Europe, our treble winners, Manchester City!
Wonderful scenes inside the Etihad, and the fireworks go off from the roof just to mark the occasion, the first time the Manchester City supporters have had the chance to applaud the treble winners. Fantastic, Alan.
Brilliant. Yeah. They're putting on a show, and quite rightly, the supporters are welcoming the team back from a couple of fantastic results, particularly the Champions League, Fletch, but you're going to have to back up and do it all again.
Well, you say they've put on a show, and it wouldn't surprise you at all if the players that we're seeing now put on an equally impressive show tonight. This game has quality written all the way through it. So let's have a look at the teams, and we start with Manchester City. Pep Guardiola's made 2 changes to his Super Cup winning starting lineup. The goal scorer Cole Palmer and defender 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰 dropped to the bench, replaced by Ruben Dias and Julian Alvarez. It's the first time we've seen Dias in the Premier League this season. John Stones and Kevin De Bruyne injured. Bernardo Silva is also still out. 9 of this 11 played the whole match in Greece in midweek.
And that surprised us a little bit, I've got to be honest, because you and I spoke about it, and we both expected Pep to make substitutions earlier in that particular game. The one you mentioned there, Cole Palmer, he's got to consider himself a little bit unlucky. Goal in the Community Shield, he got himself back in the game, got City back in the game on Wednesday night, got to consider himself unlucky. Mind you, I suppose you can look at it another way. If you're going to lose your place, you're as well losing it to a World Cup winner.
It's a very good point, well made. So no surprise that Newcastle are unchanged based on how impressive they were against Aston Villa. Sandro Tonali and Alexander Isak both scored last week, as did Callum Wilson and Harvey Barnes, who might feel unfortunate to only be on the bench again. Kieran Trippier started at Manchester City. He won an FA Youth Cup 15 years ago with them, and he's the captain tonight.
Interesting, Fletch. Speaking about it before the game, you know, we mentioned Palmer being a little unlucky. Wilson and Barnes coming off the bench against Villa both scored. Isak looked very, very impressive. You and I spoke about his second finish in particular. The one thing that Newcastle will have to compete in all levels is a far stronger and bigger squad. They look as though they're on the way to getting that. They had a brilliant start last week. I don't think anybody, even the most confident Newcastle fan, would have fancied 5-1, but 5-1 it was, and well deserved.
And it certainly whetted the appetite among the Toonami for what might be in store tonight. There's Erling Haaland, who had a quiet night on Wednesday in the Super Cup, but his record here at the Etihad is astonishing. 35 goals in 26 matches here, and he's keen to add more to that tally this evening. And Sandro Tonali is already a huge favourite of the Toonami following a complete performance in the thrashing of Villa. The Italian international looked tailor-made for the Premier League last weekend at St James's Park. So we're all set that the Etihad is very ready for what's in store. This mouth-watering game between Manchester City and Newcastle. There's Robert Jones, the referee, and Jared Gillett is the video assistant referee for this one tonight. thing that is interesting to me, Ali, is the fact that Newcastle have had a full week to prepare tonight. They played last Saturday, and of course the Super Cup has been in the middle of this week for Manchester City, and all the travel preparation and the game itself. Would that be an advantage potentially?
Listen, Dan, I don't care what anybody says. If you're Eddie Howe, this is a great time to play City. Of course it is. They're coming back from a game on Wednesday night. Energy sapping heat, the travelling. It is a great time to play them. However, you've still got to go out and do it. And time will tell. Next 90 minutes we'll find out whether they can.
So the teams meeting tonight for the 189th time. It's a rivalry with plenty of layers to it. The game last August at St James's Park was a classic, with City coming from 3-0 down to draw 3-3. And they had some chances here in March as well, Newcastle, before they lost 2-0. And here's an early concern for Newcastle, that heavy fall for 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
He's holding his collarbone, isn't he? And he seems to be in a great degree of discomfort. He goes up for the header with Haaland, and it certainly looks as though the way he lands, his elbow goes into the back of Haaland, but the fall looks as though that's where the damage might have been caused. Yep, right shoulder.
A very important player, 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, has made more Premier League starts under Eddie Howe than any other Newcastle player. Well, he's just having a look at the fall alongside the medical staff down there, and they're making sure that he's going to be absolutely okay. It's not that difficult to severely damage a collarbone in a situation like that. It's easily done, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly in the landing. He's obviously got no control there. Once he goes for the header, Fletch, and he's on his way down, he can try and soften the landing a little bit, but he certainly gave himself a whack in the landing. He looks as though he's going to be okay, hopefully, and that's the case.
They have got Jamal Lascelles on the bench if 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is unable to carry on here. There he is. And concern down there for both Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall, the management team of Newcastle. It's never been an easy place for them to come. They've never won a match at the Etihad. The last time they won was a game at Main Road, and Erling's dad played in that one, Alfie Haaland as he was back then. By the way, when that happened, Erling was 10 weeks old and probably at home somewhere. Alan Shearer got the goal, and Newcastle for now will just continue with 10 while they make sure that 𝓣𝓱𝓪𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 is completely okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably right to point out as well, though, Fletch, barring that cup game, the record's appalling. There's no other word for it. And I know they had the 3-3 draw last year, but the record is not good coming to Manchester.
I suppose they say, though, Ali, that records are there to be broken, and maybe tonight is the night in the Premier League for Newcastle. They certainly bring bundles of confidence based on what we saw against Aston Villa in the Premier League last weekend.
Yeah, they almost had a perfect start. Well, it was a perfect start for them, wasn't it? But a different proposition this evening, that's for sure.
There's Manuel Akanji, whose role in the opening couple of matches has been to step into that position that we saw John Stones play so effectively last season. Still no Stones in the City lineup tonight. No Bernardo Silva, no Kevin De Bruyne, so they're not quite as strong as they could be. And I thought it was interesting when he spoke to the media before the match, Pep Guardiola, when he just said, look, give us a bit of time, we've got to work a few things out, and he knows he's got to find the right balance without De Bruyne in the team.
100%. I mean, the one thing that you've got to say about Pep, clearly an absolutely wonderful coach, but what he does seem to do, Fletch, particularly well, is get his team to peak at the right times.
Certainly does. There's Jack Grealish out there on the left-hand side. Phil Foden's got a central role, and we expect Julian Alvarez to try and get forward alongside Erling Haaland as often as he can when Manchester City are in possession. Little pocket there for Foden, and now Walker. There's Rodri onto Kovacic, who's playing in a Manchester City shirt at the Etihad for the first time tonight, as is Josko Gvardiol. Newcastle have lost twice in 14 competitive matches since the defeat here in March. The only blemishes for City in their last 30 matches was the loss at Brentford in a game that didn't really matter on the final day of last season, and then the penalty shootout defeat in the Community Shield against Arsenal. Here's Haaland involved, and Sven Botman was there to assist and help Newcastle get the ball back again. But one thing Newcastle have got to try and do tonight, Ali, is score. They haven't scored in any of their last 4 visits here.
Well, they certainly look as they've got the firepower, haven't they? Isak, a couple of great goals. Alexander Isak, a couple of great goals last week. Wilson and Barnes coming off the bench and scoring. Certainly Almer on the right-hand side and Gordon on the left. And that man on the ball now, got in his account off to a flyer last week, Sandro Tonali.
Fantastic, wasn't he, last week? Scoring a goal and pretty much running the show against Aston Villa. That was good defending initially by Gvardiol, but they've got it back again here. Newcastle with Bruno Guimaraes. And now the busy Almiron. Kieran Trippier coming forward as well. And the offside flag up against Newcastle.
Yeah, it must have been tight, but in a great view of it. I thought he timed the pass perfectly. Goes round him. Yeah, it's definitely offside. A good yard, more than I thought, to be honest.
Not only was he impressive on the pitch last week, Ali, he's very much a man after your own heart, Sandro Tonali. He spent an evening in Wetherspoons this week, didn't he?
I saw it. It still remains a mystery who sent him there, but that is absolutely different class. That tickled me.
Acclimatising as best he can. Anyway, here's Walker. It's going to be a fascinating speed race down this side between Gordon, who registered the fastest speed in the Premier League last weekend, up against Walker, who's pretty much regarded as one of the fastest around, regardless of the opposition.
Fletch, you told me that. I mean, and I knew, I'm brutally honest with you, I knew Anthony Gordon was quick. I did not realise he was that quick.
I don't think many people did. They do now. There's Grealish. Then it goes to Haaland, and Foden supporting him. And it was important defending in there for Newcastle. They'll have to do plenty of that tonight. Kovacic, now Foden, and now Rodri. Here's Ruben Diaz, who missed a couple of matches with a concussion. He's back in there tonight. And here's Gvardiol, and back to Ederson. There's Kovacic. Gordon able to get the foot in, but Rodri there for Manchester City. Newcastle lost the fewest away games in the Premier League last season, form that was a significant factor in them qualifying for the Champions League. One of the 3 defeats was here, the others at Liverpool and Villa. But Manchester City haven't lost in this stadium since last November.
I think Crouch, you make the good point before the game, Fletch, talking about both sides. As attack-minded as they are, and they are very attack-minded. I think City scored 152 goals last year in all competitions. That said, both sides with defensive records are excellent and the best in the country.
Kovacic to another of the new signings in the summer, Gvardiol. One thing I have noticed, just out of picture, Kyle Walker's trying to time his run down the right-hand side for Manchester City, because Dan Burn is playing quite narrow, isn't he? Quite close to both Botman and Cher in the middle. It's almost a back three. They're that narrow where Manchester City have got the ball. Here's Foden. On it goes now to Grealish. They're waiting in the middle. Grealish wants to shoot. Good defending by his England teammate Trippier. And then Bruno Guimaraes just caught over there. I certainly feel that City have got it in their minds, Ali, that there's space on the right if they can get the ball to Walker on time.
Fletch, 100%. We saw it on Wednesday. We used Navas defending pretty narrow and Jack Grealish on the left-hand side. But interestingly enough, Kyle Walker will get forward, as we know, on the right-hand side. But the interesting thing to me, first sort of 10 minutes or so, is Phil Foden has been picking the ball up, as you say, in very, very dangerous little areas in front of the 2 Newcastle centre-backs. He's finding a wee pocket here and there.
There's the Newcastle technical area. We talked about it last week at Arsenal, and Eddie Howe was asked in the week, do you think they targeted you and Jason Tindall with the change? And so far they're okay. Jason sat down and Eddie's at the front, so we'll keep an eye on that.
We'll need to monitor that closely.
Here's Rodri. Now Gvardiol. Early possession here being dominated by Manchester City. Now, one of those games early in the season, Ali, where there's a lot of football to be played after it, but it is the chance to lay down the early marker against one of your rivals.
Without doubt. Without doubt. Just looking at City, it's remarkable the way they play the game. You look at Rodri's now centre-back, Akanji's left-hand side midfield.
It's a fantastic ball to Alvarez. That should have had him away, really.
Should have done better.
Here's Anthony Gordon, and now Dan Burn, supported here by Joe Linton, and now Sven Botman. Sandro Tonali played in a Champions League semi-final last season with AC Milan. Bruno Guimaraes. Nowhere there for Joel Linton to go. Phil Foden's got it for Manchester City. Erling Haaland, angle tight. And in the end, he couldn't quite sort his feet out, but the Manchester City press was a real problem there for the Newcastle midfielders.
Listen, he had to fire it into his feet. He wanted to take a better touch. They get caught in possession here. It's a poor ball. This ball here, it has to be played into his feet. It's very, very difficult, and it's just behind him a little bit. To cut Haaland a little bit of slack, Foden should have given it probably. The pass should have been a yard forward, and he could have taken it in his movement. As it happens, he can't get it under control. Let off for Newcastle, particularly Joe Linton.
First opportunity there this evening for Phil Foden to be a provider, and he is very good, Ali, at finding those little pockets of space where he can get himself turned and do some damage.
Fletch is intelligent, very, very intelligent player. Picks up and finds little pockets, but you'd expect somebody of his quality to have the final ball, the final delivery there into Haaland. Probably should have, well, not probably, definitely should have been better for me.
There's Kyle Walker, the man who was proud to lift the Super Cup in midweek for Manchester City. Phil Foden now finding Rodri. Manchester City get the ball out to Jack Grealish. Kovacic. That's what he does well. Just couldn't quite find Haaland with the ball. He brings that different element, though, to this Manchester City midfield in terms of wanting to carry the ball.
He just breaks the line by carrying the ball. More upper body strength, really, and a good burst of speed over 5 yards. And all of a sudden he's through, and he gives the centre-backs a problem, because all of a sudden they've got to come out. Ended up good defending there from Shah.
There's the ball to Walker that they've been thinking about. Dan Burn's got to defend it. Here's Foden. Akanji. He's going to shoot Akanji. Worth a thought from there.
That's a good ball again. Not for the first time. Walker very comfortable in that position, forward on the right-hand side. Foden lays it back. See what he's trying. Never troubling the goalkeeper, though.
His only goal last season was in the Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid, Manuel Akanji, but of course he has got the licence to play further forward at the moment with John Stones unavailable. He's the one that's in midfield in the main, alongside Rodri and Kovacic when they've got the ball.
Oh, there he goes. It's amazing you watch Akanji there. He just disappears from that left-hand side of the centre-back, moves 10-15 yards forward into the left of midfield to give him the extra man.
Rodri had the opportunity to give it back to Grealish, but he's come this side instead now to Walker. Here's Kovacic. Alvarez have made the run into the penalty area. There's lots of movement off the ball here for Manchester City. Here's Rodri. Now Walker. Kovacic. Ruben Diaz, Julian Alvarez. Now Walker. Kovacic, onto Foden and back again.
Oh, it's a brilliant wee ball round the corner from Kovacic, it really is.
He's now looking for Haaland, and Trippier had to tuck in from that side. I mean, we saw the other night, they never get bored of passing the ball around Manchester City, do they?
Anything but. Now you can see it. No real surprise there in possession.
Bruno Guimaraes forward towards Miguel Almiron. 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 was in there to win it back for City. Here's Kovacic. 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Manchester City have become used to making history in recent months, and they can make some more tonight. A win will be their 17th in a row here at the Etihad, and that would set a new club record for them. In that run, by the way, they've scored 54 goals, which is an average of more than 3 a game.
Yeah. It's remarkable, really is. That's brilliant.
I was just checking the maths there, because they're the kind of things where you get pulled apart if you're wrong. I was thinking, is that right? But it is, yeah.
Well, that worked out. I was fairly confident that 3 17s were 51. It was more than that.
So 0-0, Manchester City controlling the ball. Newcastle at the moment nice and organised defensively.
It's a perfect piece of play there from City earlier on there, Fletch. What they do, comfortable on the ball. They tried to suck the opposition into an area up the pitch and then flick it over the top, which they did. A lovely ball from Rodri, but they didn't capitalise on it. They didn't go quickly enough.
That was a lovely turn by Isak. Here's Gordon, who can have a go at Walker for the first time at Gliver. Really good ball in. It's good defending there by Manuel Akanji, who keeps his defensive responsibilities in check there, because that's the first little bit of explosion down the side from Gordon.
And I love it from Gordon. All he wants is a half yard to get the delivery in. And if you're a centre forward or Almiron coming into the back post, that's all you want. He gets a half yard, he doesn't try to do anything clever, and he puts the ball across and invites the forwards to attack it.
Shea looking for Almiron.
Lovely touch.
Took it well, didn't he?
Yeah, beautiful.
Bruno Guimaraes looking for 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 almost.
Yeah, saw what he tried there. Some nice football. Arguably the best passage of play.
Launched forward by Ederson. Nick Pope leaving it to his defender. There's Bruno Guimaraes now for Newcastle.
Yeah, he took up a kind of strange position there, Nick Pope, but clearly no danger.
He's conceded 21 goals in 6 matches here with Burnley and Newcastle. It's not been a happy place by any stretch of the imagination for the Newcastle goalkeeper. Mind you, he's not alone in that column, is he?
I was going to say, there's a few others we could name to join him, but we're hoping that will change tonight.
There's Joe Linton and now Gordon. A real competition for places in the final third for Newcastle this season when you think about Harvey Barnes and Callum Wilson, who both scored last weekend on the bench. Here's Almiron. 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 across there for Manchester City. Bruno Guimaraes. Here's Dan Burn. Well, Alexander Isak. Rodri able to win it back, but he gives the ball away again. Kieran Trippier. Cleared away by Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, it was untidy passes of play from both 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲 and Rodri there.
Here's Foden. Lovely touch to Rodri. And on it goes now to where he was hoping that either Grealish or Haaland might be. And plenty of time over there for the Newcastle captain Trippier to get it back to his goalkeeper. It's a nice feel to it, Ali.
Yeah. You know, I think Newcastle will be quite happy with the way the game started. Fletch opening 20 minutes. Clearly they won't mind. When I say they won't mind, they'll accept Manchester City having a lot of the football, majority possession. But in terms of chances created, not an awful lot.
Tonali playing a nice ball forward here to Almiron. Akanji's turn to defend on that side for City, and it goes to Isak. Almiron lets it run. Joe Linton has the ball.
He's actually unlucky, Almiron. He lets it through his legs. He's wanting Joe Linton to hit it first time, and he probably should have. Just finding their way into this game now, Newcastle, aren't they?
Started to get key players on the ball, aren't they? Guimaraes seeing more of it. Tonali starting to move around.
Absolutely. You can actually sense a little bit more confidence in their play, a little bit more belief.
There's the Manchester City manager, Ali. Pep Guardiola won his 15th trophy with them on Wednesday. That's 4 in 4 months. And somebody told me that he wins one every 27 games or so on average.
That's absolutely remarkable, if that's the case. It really is. No, I don't think there's any doubt. A modern day great. In that there can be no doubt.
Manuel Akanji, Ruben Dias, Phil Foden. Here's Alvarez. Now Grealish. Alvarez beaten in the chase on that side by Fabian Schär.
Was asking a lot of him, the ball from Grealish, wasn't it?
Here's Kovacic. Ruben Dias. Gordon was a little bit late there. Ruben Dias has gone down and stayed down and seems to be in a fair deal of pain.
Yeah, it looks as though he's caught him. He's not happy anyway, you can tell that. Dan Burns acting as peacemaker there. Here we'll see it. Oh dear. Comes down his calf, doesn't he, with his studs. I think I might get a yellow card for that, to be honest, yeah.
So the yellow card for Anthony Gordon. They did just take a little look at that. And video assistant referee Jared Gillett. I don't think he can have any complaints about it.
No complaints at all.
Makes you wonder sometimes when you see a challenge like that, what's in a player's mind. He's going to gain absolutely nothing from it whatsoever.
It's an interesting one, Fletch. And I'm not trying to defend him in any way, shape or form. It's definitely a yellow card. But I'm just not totally convinced that that's what he set out to do. I'm genuinely not. I know you're looking at me. I'm thinking maybe he's caught him accidentally. It's a yellow card all day.
Yeah.
And you're not having it. I can tell with that look in your face. Well, maybe I'm just trying to cut him a wee bit of slack. I don't know.
I'm not going to argue with you, that's for sure. Here's Walker. Gordon's got some defending to do. We can both agree on that. Supported here by Kovacic. Walker. Similar problems in the opening 24 minutes for City that we saw on Wednesday night against Sevilla.
Yeah. The one thing as well, Fletch, is interesting. We're speaking about Kyle Walker down this right-hand side. I think Anthony Gordon will without doubt be happier with Dan Burn picking him up than having to drop into that area himself, because he's taking, it's brilliant from Walker, because he's taking Anthony Gordon into an area where he doesn't want to be.
Make sure you're with us on Tuesday night. Ali's going to be part of the team. Rangers against PSV Eindhoven. That's in the Champions League playoff. The first leg at Ibrox from 7:30. That's a big night for Rangers. And then Bournemouth against Tottenham next Saturday, 11 o'clock. Back to the usual slot on TNT Sports 1 for that game in the Premier League. 0-0 so far tonight between Manchester City and Newcastle. And I'm pretty sure that Eddie Howe's going to be happy with the way that his team have gone about it so far. They've been very disciplined defensively when they've been out of possession.
No, spot on your assessment there, Fletch. Not a lot of chances created from City. And while you were doing the promo there, brilliant defending from Ruben Diaz, I've got to say.
Long towards Erling Haaland. He was trying to get between two defenders there, the two centre-backs of Newcastle, Botman and Schär. Here's Gordon. Given away, though, to Ruben Diaz, and now Rodri. Mateo Kovacic. Oh, Grealish. Alvarez. He couldn't quite turn it on to Haaland. Kovacic, who played his last game for Chelsea against Newcastle on the final day of last season, now gives it to Rodri, onto Foden, back to Rodri, and then away by Trippier. Akanji, though, wins it straight back from Almiron for Manchester City.
It's untidy from Trippier. From Newcastle's point of view, when they win the ball there, they've got to keep it.
Akanji out there on the left-hand side, supported here by Kovacic. Onto Rodri. Walker's made the run in behind Gordon on this side and could just about reach it. Not quite enough, but that's what they're trying to do.
That's the difference. I don't think it gets inside Dan Burn. That's the point I'm trying to make. Anthony Gordon, this is where he wants to be. He wants to take the ball up in forward areas, because that's his strength. You take him back into that area there, that's not his strength. And that's where there's a bigger chance of him switching off, I think, than there is Dan Burn.
And what I would say, Ali, based on what we saw from Sevilla on Wednesday night, on that side of Campos and Acuna, yes, combined very well in those situations.
Yeah, we were impressed, weren't we?
Here is Dan Burn, whose first Premier League goal for Brighton was against Manchester City back in May of 2021. I must admit, he looked a mile offside, didn't he, before the ball was played. They're going to continue because City have got the possession.
I was going to say, I'm glad he didn't put that flag up, because it's a brilliant touch from Grealish.
There's that pocket for Foden. There's the ball onto Alvarez. Haaland waiting in the middle. In goes the cross. And that's well defended in there by Sven Botman for Newcastle. But he found that little pocket again in a central position, Foden, and that's where he can really hurt you.
You know, I've got to say, I'm a little bit disappointed in the centre-forwards movement there. Can't believe I'm being critical of Haaland in the box, but I just thought that was an opportunity where he should have gone and tried to get in front of the defender. I know his natural position was he went back post, Fletch, but I thought when he went back post, there was an opportunity to dart in front again.
Jack Grealish faced by Almiron. Here's Kovacic. Haaland trying to pin the defender Botman, who had to be strong himself. Here's Foden. Now Grealish. Gets the rebound as well, Grealish, and swings one in. Kyle Walker nods it down to Mateo Kovacic. Hits the shot. Good block, Joel Linton. Here's Manuel Akanji. Constant pressure from Manchester City at the moment. Foden. Block made in there by Fabian Schär. Picked up now by Jack Grealish. And it goes towards Alvarez and away again. They're defending well in there, Newcastle.
They are. I mean, Fletch, it's unbelievable. We probably don't realise what we're seeing there. We're seeing Rodri fire a ball into a player's feet who's 20 yards from goal and it happens to be the left centre-back in open play. Akanji's that far forward. I'm not sure that's allowed, is it?
Can't stay there for long, can you?
I don't want to tell stories out of school, but it's amazing. Akanji's position there is actually very nearly on the 18-yard box in open play, and Rodri fires him a ball into his feet. Certainly good period of possession from City.
I think that's the wonderful thing about Guardiola. Just when you think you've seen everything, he comes up with something else to change what his team does.
Absolutely, Rio was mentioning that pre-match. And again, it's a valid point.
Yes, Rodri into Kovacic. Starting to find a bit of room between the lines, aren't they, at the moment? Manchester City. There's Kovacic once more, and now Phil Foden. Pulled back here to Alvarez. Good chance, good goal! Well, that's what he's been brought in to do, and the World Cup winner delivers for Manchester City.
Fletch. The finish is absolutely sublime. However, the touch from Foden in that little pocket is nothing short of majestic. It really is. It's an absolutely terrific goal. We've said they haven't really been dangerous up to a point, but boy, how can they turn it in one split second? It's an excellent goal. He's taken the praise from the fans, and so he should. This touch, the touch from Foden here, brilliant. Keeps it open, keeps it going, cuts it back. And that is unstoppable. Brilliant goal. Brilliant.
Got his fingertips to it, Pope, but couldn't keep it out.
He knows exactly what he's doing, Fletch. He opens his body up to whip it back across to Pope's right-hand side. And boy, did he enjoy it, and so he should.
The face of celebration from the manager. A big beaming smile on the face of Julian Alvarez, who scored 17 goals last season, only started 23 matches, but he's in from the start tonight. And we asked the question, was Cole Palmer unlucky not to start? Well, if the man who comes in to replace you does that, then it justifies the decision made by the Manchester City manager.
100%. 100%.
And by the way, what a trophy cabinet he's got, Alvarez. 23 years of age, he's won everything. It's easier to tell you that than to go through what he's got.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the finish was brilliant, it really was. There you are. They've had plenty of attempts, but it's the first one in target, Fletch. And it's an excellent finish. He goes to strike the ball and probably just at the last minute decides to put a bit of whip on it, to put it to Nick Pope's right-hand corner, and as you correctly said, gets a hand on it, but unstoppable.
Well, it's turned up the volume inside the Etihad, and the Manchester City pressure has paid off, and Julian Alvarez has given them the lead with 12.5 minutes to play in the first half. Some strike on the ball, wasn't it?
It was excellent.
It's clean as a whistle.
Excellent. But we said before, a couple of minutes earlier, Fletch, we were really impressed with this man on the ball now, Foden, because he was getting into the game, he was getting into little pockets.
Tonali was the player tracking back. Foden's been fouled. Before that, what about the little chest pass from Alvarez over his shoulder? There's a yellow card as well, shown to 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
He gives him a nudge. You know something? He actually does well defensively, Tonali. He does give Foden a nudge, and it is a foul, but here we see it, the arm come across, it's the right arm, nudges him off the ball.
And second yellow card in the first half for Newcastle. And 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 joining Anthony Gordon in the book. Few have had their say. Looks like it's going to be left here to Jack Grealish. Alvarez. Headed away by Tonali. Shooting chance for Kovacic. Blocked him there for Newcastle by Botman. Alvarez fouling Gordon, free kick to Newcastle.
Did well, Gordon there. Gives him a little bit of respite, gets his body in front of Alvarez, invites the foul. This is beautiful, this. Oh, just knocks it into the path. Foden takes it in his stride.
You could tell by the eyes that he meant to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Guy's won the World Cup. I think it's safe to say that fella knows what he's doing.
I think you're right. I think we're really blessed in the Premier League at the moment. There are so many fantastic players to watch. No matter who you support, everybody turns up with a player that can get you off your seat. And tonight we've got a whole host of them here at the Etihad.
Absolutely.
Here's Almiron. Had his best scoring season last season for Newcastle. Finds the left-back Byrne. Bruno Guimaraes. Now Fabian Schär. Little nudge there by Rodri. Free kick to Newcastle.
Yep.
Did you do that when you were a manager? Little notepad, or just remember it all?
Do you know something? I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I really do, because you'll see things in the first half, and if you take over, you need to take a note of them immediately, so you can have a look with the boys at half-time. Feeling that, inevitably you will forget.
Headed away from Manchester City, and there by Rodri, taken down there by Almiron. They're appealing for a handball against Kovacic. Here's Gordon. And they are going to take a look at it as well. The referee, Robert Jones, has just been informed they're going to take a look at that. In the meantime, here's Almiron for Newcastle. Blocked in there by Gvardiol. They are just going to delay this, Ali, and take another look at it.
Not for me. Absolutely not for me.
Yeah, check complete.
Good.
You're right. I think when you see a situation like that, though, it does show that they've raised the threshold now, because we were getting penalties like that at certain stages of last season.
Which I thought some of the decisions, frankly, were ridiculous, Fletcher. I really did. Some of the handball decisions were absolutely ridiculous. That, for me, is common sense. Don't mind them when they look at it, as long as they arrive at the right decision.
Foden's having a real influence on this game when he picks up the ball in areas like that, picking out Grealish now. He can run at Trippier. Grealish with the shots, good block in there. Fabian Schär for Newcastle. Anthony Gordon finding Alexander Isak. Quiet so far for the Newcastle centre forward. And he's run out of room.
Yeah, he's finding it tough, opening half hour. What Kyle Walker's position, Fletch, does when he's high up on the right-hand side, they've already got Grealish high in the left, so it allows Alvarez, and in particular Phil Foden, as we mentioned, to play more centrally in a kind of number 10 role and go into those wee pockets. Grealish gives him the width on the left, and on the right-hand side it's Kyle Walker. And as I said, it allows Foden to play more central.
Bruno Guimaraes. Miguel Almiron. Kieran Trippier. The first signing that Newcastle made with Eddie Howe as the manager, Kieran Trippier, and they chose a good one there. He's the captain these days. He's been absolutely superb for them since he came from Spain.
He really has.
Interesting ball he decided to play there, but that was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it?
It really was.
How to get yourself out of trouble in one easy lesson.
He saw that coming, he must have been like that. Thanks very much. But he did really well, Botman.
Bruno Guimaraes looking for Kieran Trippier. Jack Grealish has some work to do defensively. Here's Almiron. Guimaraes. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. I think ever since they've refined this method of playing Manchester City with the centre-back going into midfield and then dropping back, it almost feels like they've got an extra player on the pitch.
Yeah. I think I said to you, Fletch, the first time I saw them do it was at Goodison Park. It was Cancelo that did it. You know, they would start off in that left-back position, and as soon as they get the ball, they would just move into the middle of the park and give them an extra man.
I'm just going to take a little look at the challenge that has just taken place involving Akanji. And the check complete. Let's just tell you about UFC 292 tonight from 1 o'clock on TNT Sports 1. Sterling against O'Malley is the top of the bill, and then next Saturday from 6 o'clock on TNT Sports Box Office you can see 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 against Daniel Dubois. That's for various versions of the world heavyweight title. It's a huge opportunity and a huge task rolled into one for Daniel Dubois in Poland next Saturday.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
We've got less than 5 minutes to play in the first half, where we've seen just the one goal scored by Julian Alvarez, and the treble winners from last season, Manchester City, have the lead.
By the way, that might just be the pass in the first half.
Foden. Haaland!
Oh. It all comes from Ederson, honestly. What a pass it is from Ederson, Flesh. Yeah, look at this, look at the run. Alvarez takes him, pulls him in deep, and then spins into the right back position because Trippier's up the park with Grealish. Makes a run across. Good effort. I think it's through Dan Burns' legs. Does it? Yes, it does. And from his point of view, just the wrong side of the post there for Erling Haaland, but not by much. I had Nick Pope sweating, but what a pass from Ederson. It's ridiculous, that, wasn't it?
Fantastic. Here's Kovacic. Guardiola. Now Ruben Diaz. Haaland tussling there with Botman. He's been nice and strong against him in this first half. He's been happy to do the physical stuff against the Manchester City number 9.
It's a clever run again. He curves his run to stay onside there.
Akanji's been everywhere.
Yeah, it's amazing. I had to rub my eyes when I saw him, honestly. He was a yard outside the box.
He always says that the man he looked up to most in management was Bielsa. A similar position, seen that before. Always thought Bielsa was a lot more agitated though when he sat there. Cleared away by Rodri. Haaland using his strength, flicked away by Byrne, but Manchester City have got it now with Rodri and now Grealish. We're expecting 3 minutes to be added on at the end of this first half. And you have to say, Ali, that Manchester City with the ball have been pretty impressive here.
Totally dominated possession, which they will in the vast majority, nearly not all the games they will play. They will dominate possession. Just an end product, and they had it with a fabulous goal from Alvarez. Look at that skill in the middle of the park from the fullback.
Fantastic from Walker. Jack Grealish, 3 up with him, all waiting in the middle. Grealish to the byline, and that's behind for the corner. Walker involved right from the start of that
lovely.
move.
Wasn't it lovely? He knocks it round one side, goes the other side. That's what I'm saying about this City side, Fletch. You know, we're saying Walker's on the right-hand side, and he's been great on the right-hand side going forward, but equally, Akanji, Walker, they're now very, very comfortable and encouraged, actively encouraged to go and take part in the game in areas of the pitch that they wouldn't normally.
Taking total football to a new level, isn't he? Manchester City corner, centre-backs are in there. It's aimed towards Rodri, who wins his header. Cleared away in there for Newcastle by 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Kovacic's header only finds Isak, and then Foden worked tirelessly to get it back for Manchester City, and off he goes. Haaland, 𝓤𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. No foul.
No, he's laughing, isn't he? But I thought he got a nudge, to be fair. Rob Jones didn't agree.
Kovacic almost nicked it away from Bruno Guimaraes. They would have been in trouble there, Newcastle, had that not been a foul.
The fourth official has indicated that the minimum of 3 minutes of time on.
Confirmation of 3 additional minutes here at the end of this first half. Pope picks out 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
Yeah, lovely ball as well.
On they're on to Burn. Now Gordon. There's Joel Linton, and now Dan Burn. Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali. Newcastle have got the possession here, but Manchester City have dropped into that orthodox back four now, with Akanji as a left back, and Gvardiol just goes one more in, doesn't he, when that happens?
Yeah, they have now. As soon as Newcastle got the ball, though, it was Jack Grealish that was in that uncomfortable left back position with Trippier high in the right, but Jack, as you would expect, quickly pulled Akanji in.
Sven Botman, Bruno Guimaraes. Here's Almiron. Kieran Trippier running forward to support him here from right back, and he's got the chance to cross, and there's a couple in the middle. Gordon was one of them, and he didn't seem to know whether to try and control it or go for the volley.
I'm not sure why he's trying to control it. He's got to hit that first time. I mean, it looked a good height for him with his right foot. Just get your body across it and hit it. That was strange. Very, very clever play down the right-hand side, particularly from Newcastle, but I'm surprised, really surprised, Fletch, he doesn't have a go first time at it.
Here's Kovacic for Manchester City. Ruben Dias on to Phil Foden, now to Gvardiol. Final few seconds of the first half, where Manchester City have seen the lion's share of possession and have the lead through Julian Alvarez. That little sequence, though, for Newcastle, with a cross from Trippier that presented the opportunity to Gordon, will just give them a bit of confidence heading into half-time. Here's Walker. It's a Newcastle ball. Just apologies for the language. A little bit feisty down there, Ali, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there's half-time. So Pep Guardiola leaves with a scratch of the head, but I'm sure he'll be satisfied with what he's seen from his team in the first half. A wonderful finish from Julian Alvarez. The initial touch by Foden to get the ball out to his feet. He played it straight into the World Cup winner, and he smashed it into the top corner beyond Nick Pope. Opportunities around the City box have been few and far between for Newcastle. There was just that half chance right at the end of the half, though, for Anthony Gordon. Half-time, though, at the Etihad. The champions of last season lead. Manchester City 1, Newcastle United 0.
Welcome to Budapest for what could potentially be the greatest World Athletics Championships of all time, where as many as 7 world records could potentially tumble, including in the men's 200 metres, currently owned by one Mr. Usain Bolt. From a British interest standpoint, the British record holders in the 100 and 200 metres in the form of 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 and 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓲𝓷𝓰 will be looking for strong performances. And as for Keely Hodgkinson, she could possibly be crowned world champion. All that and more over the course of the next 9 days. It's not to be missed, right here on Discovery Plus.
Thank you, Radzi. So much to look forward to at the World Champs here at the Etihad. Manchester City lead Newcastle 1-0 at the break. Rio and Peter alongside me, and we spoke a lot before the game about who was going to provide the creativity in the absence of De Bruyne. Rio, just how well has Phil Foden done that tonight?
He has been tremendous. I think people questioned and said, is he going to be the guy to stand up, or who is it going to be? And these are the pockets where Rodri described in this week as being the best in the team. Getting in those half spaces between the opposing defenders and midfielders, and having that ability to find the next pass. I mean, the awareness, you know how difficult it is to get on the half turn like that when you've got players all around you.
Do you know what, Rio? I think he's the best in the league at getting in that half turn, and turning and getting at defences in that manner as well. And it took him a while to sort of get the passes right. Haaland wasn't quite on the same wavelenght, but when it did click, he was perfect. He's the perfect man in that position. We asked him before the game to step up and play in those central areas and kind of take the ball by the horns and replace De Bruyne. And I feel like he's done that in the first half.
He's got a fantastic way to pass. His awareness of players, and this is the goal here. It's a great bit of movement from inside to out. No look right pass. And I think the pace ends up beating Pope there. And you want it to go. Listen, if it's not Alvarez in terms of finishers, I mean, if it's not Haaland in terms of finishers, this guy Alvarez, I think he's got 26 starts, 15 goals and 5 assists. The kid knows where the back of the net is.
Yeah,
great
17 goals last season for him. In those two players' performances in that first half, is that going to give the manager a lot of belief with De Bruyne out in terms of what they've still got in that team?
Yeah, with Alvarez, I mean, he walks into any Premier League side other than Manchester City with Haaland. But as you can see there with the touch map from Foden, it was very much more central. Those playing off the right, he's still coming in, and he's been the link between him and Haaland, which is...
Since he came into the team, I think that's what I've always wanted to see him central. I think he goes wide, it isolates him a little bit, and he can do it because he's got such great ability. But in them central areas there, he hasn't been able to play there because of David Silva, because Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, etc. But now he has a fantastic opportunity, and today, for 45 minutes, he's been the best player.
He really has, causing all sorts of problems with his creativity tonight. Manchester City 1-0 up at half-time against Newcastle. Foden with the no-look pass for Alvarez, who curled that beauty into the top corner. And you can see just how much Pep enjoyed that in front of the home fans. Welcome back to the Etihad, where Manchester City are leading Newcastle 1-0 at half-time. Julian Alvarez with the only goal in that first half. Much for Eddie Howe to ponder at half-time there, Peter. What did you make of Newcastle in that first half? Are they a bit disappointed?
Yeah, slightly disappointing. I feel sorry for Isak. I've played that role up front. You know, he's getting no support whatsoever. You know, what they do have now, Newcastle, they've got a good squad. You know, good changes. Callum Wilson, Harvey Barnes, players who can influence it. Maybe Eddie Howe will be able to look at that.
Yeah, maybe he wants to freshen it up in the second half as the players start to make their way out here. Let's head down to the tunnel where our reporter Jules Breach is.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, we've just seen the Newcastle players walk through out onto the pitch. Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall have sent the team out early as we wait for the Manchester City team just to come down the stairs and through a tunnel here, ready for the second half. As you guys say, Newcastle need to find a way back into this game. And it's been really interesting from where I've been sat. Callum Wilson just heading in after the half-time warm-up there. Perhaps he could be a player that we see introduced in this second half, both him and Harvey Barnes, who's just about to come past me in the tunnel now. They both came on in the 68th minute against Aston Villa and both got on the score sheet last week in that 5-1 victory. So we may see them introduced in this second half fairly early as they've already gone in. Manchester City players are on their way out now as well. It has been really interesting watching Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall's relationship in the technical area, particularly because of the new rule that the Premier League has instated this season, that only one member of the coaching staff can be in the technical area at a time. And we've seen them swapping places as they go through plotting a plan in this second half to try and get their way back into this game. As you can see, both teams are now out on the pitch. They're ready for the second half. So let me hand you back to our commentators, Ali and Fletch.
Thank you, Jules. So the players out there for the second half. I think you share the view of Peter Crouch, don't you, that you've been a bit disappointed with Newcastle tonight, Ali?
I have been so far a little bit disappointed, Fletch, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why. For the reasons we spoke about before the game. You know, we're saying it's a good time to play Manchester City after the game on Wednesday and all that energy, sapping heat. And I was expecting a little bit more. I'll be very, very surprised if they don't try and lift the tempo, particularly at the start of the second half.
So City leading through that goal in the first half from Julian Alvarez, and neither manager at half-time has made a change. There's an early free kick for the foul by Alvarez on Tonali, and the first yellow card for a Manchester City player tonight. Two Newcastle players booked in the first half. The man who was fouled there, Tonali, as well as Anthony Gordon.
First thing I would do, Fletch, to change it around a little bit. I know there's no change in personnel. However, that wouldn't stop me trying to get Kieran Trippier forward on the right-hand side and try to do to Anthony Gordon what Kyle Walker's doing, and that is take Jack Grealish into an area he doesn't want. You have to get possession of the football for that, and you have to be in good possession of the ball. But I'll try and get Trippier forward on the right-hand side, taking Jack Grealish into an area he doesn't want to go.
Free kick taken there by Trippier towards Burn and headed away by Akanji. Here's Joe Linton, and now Gordon. Phil Foden back there defending for Manchester City. Bruno Guimaraes with the ball in. That's headed on in there towards Dan Burn, and then Isak was coming in, and I think the offside flag is up, which brings an end to that little discussion in there with him the other side of the defender.
Yeah, that was interesting. Diagonal ball. Oh, that's tight, very tight. He just tries to knock it back into an area. Now this would have been interesting. I don't think there's an awful lot in it right enough.
Trippier back there for Newcastle. There's Guardiola and now Rodri. I must say, as an observer of football, Ali, since they've raised the threshold and raised the bar on VAR decisions,
yeah,
certainly feel the game's better for it.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah, without doubt. I mean, the problem I've got, Fletch, was, for example, you're looking at last week at Manchester United at Old Trafford, when you know you've got a clear-cut penalty decision and it goes to VAR and they don't give it. That's the problem I have. VAR's not the problem. Occasionally it's the people making the decision.
That's an opportunity for Newcastle. Joe Linton finding Gordon. Gordon with a shot, hits his own player. It just might have been an opportunity earlier in the move there to miss out Joe Linton and play Gordon in first time. That might have given him more of an opportunity, Ali.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. But certainly, I know it's at very early stages in the second half. But it looks as though going to be more positive, Newcastle, which will have to be to get anything from the game.
Eddie Howe's been fantastic. They got 5 points from 11 matches when he went in November 2021. He's taken 118 points from 66 Premier League matches, which is an average of almost 2 a game. It's sensational what he's been able to do.
Sitting second bottom, weren't they, when he took over? That's absolutely remarkable.
There's 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Seeing more of the ball here in the early stages, second half, Newcastle. Almiron waiting for Trippier. This is what Ali was looking for. Hoisted in towards Gordon. He'll run through here for Joelinton. Dan Burns on his way in there. Gordon looks to take on Walker and then smashes the shot wide, but it's a lot more encouraging than it was, isn't it?
Far brighter, far brighter. It's an interesting one there, because I'm not even sure I'd have passed to Trippier. I might have delivered myself. However, he makes a great run, and Gordon takes a good touch here. It just shows you how quick he is to get a wee half yard, even to get the shot away, which obviously doesn't trouble the goalkeeper. But yeah, a lot brighter from Newcastle start the second half, Fletch.
As always, they've got magnificent travelling support here in Manchester. There's the route one towards Haaland, who quite enjoys the physical battle, and he gets the shot away as well on Botman. Didn't quite get the accuracy or the power, and Pope was behind it, but you've always got that option to do that with a man who can play if he wants to, as an old-fashioned number 9.
100%. The only thing I found strange there was Newcastle were quite happy to let Botman mark him in a 1v1 situation with no help at all. Share further up the park.
Here's the goal scorer, Alvarez, and now Kovacic. Rodri. Ruben Dias onto Kyle Walker, Manchester City's captain. Whipped in towards Haaland and all the way through. And then cleared by Kieran Trippier, his opposite number, and the captain of Newcastle.
See, I don't think that's a bad ball. I actually do not think that's a bad ball. You're inviting, and that's where sometimes, if I'm going to be critical of Jack Grealish's position, I know he holds his position wide on the left-hand side and he does it very well, but I just think sometimes when the ball's coming down the right-hand side, get yourself into the back post.
Grealish to Rodri, and now Kovacic. Here's Gvardiol, still only 21. Over goes Grealish, no foul, he's incensed. Kieran Trippier has the ball. And he's going to look for Alexander Isak here, and there's Edison sweeping up outside his penalty area. I think he'd love to play out, don't you?
Oh, listen, he'll fancy himself at the 5-a-side. Don't worry about that, Fletch.
Now goes Alvarez, that's a free kick.
I mean, all goalkeepers, the vast majority of goalkeepers fancy themselves at the 5-a-side, but Ederson should do with some justification, I've got to tell you.
He certainly likes the way his goalkeeper plays. It's given an added dimension to his team. And it's changed the requirements for other goalkeepers at other clubs. They've seen him and everybody wants one now.
Oh,
gone are the days when goalkeepers are only judged on whether they can save the ball.
I'm laughing out loud because I'm just thinking of some of the goalkeepers I've played with where they've been actually horrified at the prospect of playing like that.
Are you going to name names?
No, I'm not.
No, you didn't think you would.
100% not.
I didn't think you would. So free kick here to Manchester City, who lead 1-0. And the man who scored the goal in the first half, Alvarez, is going to take it for them. And that's a bit of a waste, you have to say.
Yeah, it's a poor ball, wasn't it? Poor ball.
Sandro Tonali finds Anthony Gordon with a nice ball. Dan Burns made the run ahead of him. Gordon wants to take on Ruben Dias, and he's very good in situations like that. It's very rare that you see Ruben Dias caught out when he's 1v1 in a situation like that.
Very confident. It was a great challenge as well, wasn't it? This could be interesting.
Gordon's on a yellow.
I know he is.
Gordon's on a yellow. Dias is still down. Foden's down as well now, so is Joelinton. Now the Manchester City players are going to ask the question of the referee. Ruben Dias still to get up. Anthony Gordon, let's have a look, Ali.
Here we go. I tell you what, I think he might pick up another yellow for that, Fletch. Joel Linton comes across, that's a straightforward yellow. I don't think I've got any justification for any defence there. That's definitely a yellow card. I'm just wondering if Joel Linton's challenge, as poor as it is, has done Anthony Gordon a favour.
Yeah. Let's have a look again. He's only a fraction late, though, isn't he?
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be able to do any more.
No, and do you know something? I don't think, having had a yellow card, looking at it, Fletch, you can look at it two ways. Is it a straightforward yellow? Should he go, right? Because make no mistake, if the referee thinks a yellow, he's away. But I think there's enough. I genuinely think there's enough there to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. I think he's going to do the sensible thing, Eddie Howe, and he's going to take off Anthony Gordon and send on Harvey Barnes. And I think that's wise in the circumstances.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's that fine line, isn't it, between being competitive and being unlucky.
Yeah.
And he's walking the tightrope with that one, I suppose. Here he is, Anthony Gordon, heavy touch. Kovacic wins it back. Now Ruben Diaz. Foden, who was outstanding in the first half. I think they totted up 5 chances that he created in that little number 10 pocket where he
was
found
excellent.
all that space. He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, started the show first half, no doubt about it.
It might well be a double Newcastle change. I think Sean Longstaff's going to come on as well. Wonder whether there's an issue here for Joel Linton. Yeah, injured himself in fouling Foden.
Yeah, Barnes will come on for Gordon as well. No surprise there. A little bit fortunate, you think, Anthony Gordon, Fletch? One of these ones, I've looked at it a couple of times. The angle we got is probably not the best angle. However, looking at it, I can understand why he just about got away with it.
I think if you're a Manchester City fan watching it, your view is completely different.
Correct.
So Harvey Barnes on, summer signing from Leicester. He was their top scorer last season. He was at Leicester for 16 years, scored last week when he came off the bench. And Joel Linton is taking his time to go off. And the local man, Sean Longstaff from North Shields, is going to be coming on. Scored a couple of goals in the League Cup semi-final against Southampton last season, Longstaff. And it's a slow walk here for the Brazilian Joel Linton. And also there, look, you're seeing Sean Longstaff have to cover up the white tape on the socks with with tape that matches the colour of the socks themselves.
Is this a rule or a fashion statement?
Well, I think it's a rule. I think he went for the fashion and then they administered the rule.
Thanks for clarifying that for me, mate.
Let's hope it's nothing too serious for Joel Linton, who's such an important part of this Newcastle midfield. It's amazing, really, when you think he was bought as a number 9. Had a torrid time when he first came, and now he's completely reinvented himself in central midfield.
Fletch, it's one of the great transformations, I'm telling you. I mean, I remember watching him and I think, dear me, he looked lost. He didn't know what his position was. Just a fantastic transformation. It's great to see, and he deserves all the credit for working so hard.
Rodri's ball in, just missed out. Haaland on the move. Dan Burn was there for Newcastle. Here's 𝓤𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, turns it round the corner. On goes Barnes, across came Ruben Diaz for Manchester City. Now Rodri. Walker. Edison to Kovacic and back out to Ruben Diaz. That's a foul by Barnes on Walker. And he's going to be shown an immediate yellow card, the Newcastle substitute.
This pulls him back, doesn't it? Silly challenge there. Pulls his left arm, knocks him off balance. Straightforward yellow. Just for another wee look at the Anthony Gordon one, I'm leaning towards changing my mind on it.
Are you?
Yeah.
It should have been a yellow and off.
I think it could have been.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I've now officially changed my mind live there.
It's a good job that they didn't check it via VAR and it took that long.
You've just found out the reason I'm not on VAR. The game would finish at 1:10 this morning.
Up it goes towards Alvarez. Defended for Newcastle by Fabian Schär. Guimaraes beaten to it by Foden. Here's Rodri. That's a foul on Kovacic. Little pull of the shirt by Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah, but we've seen it a couple of times, Kovacic. He just takes the ball and then he has a 5-yard burst, goes by people, which I can't remember him seeing him doing an awful lot. And Chelsea colours, I've got to say, but he's been very positive this evening. Just like that.
Here's Walker. Kovacic, Rodri, Ruben Diaz.
Oh, it's brilliant from Foden.
Lovely shake of the shoulders. Haaland's in for Manchester City. Brilliant defending. Outstanding in there from Fabian Schär.
You've got to see Foden's movement. He goes a yard long to come short. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Just before then, his movement's fantastic. He goes long, comes short, takes it in a half-turn, releases Haaland. Very unlucky. The movement for the wee fella there, Fletch, was brilliant.
Oh, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? When he's burst into life in the game tonight, Phil Foden, he's been excellent to watch. Here he is again.
But that was a perfect example of how he found the space there. You know, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't luck, that's for sure, because he created the space himself, but going long just a couple of yards and then spinning back in. Excellent.
There's Almiron, who's waiting for Trippier to run past him. They've got bodies coming forward here, Newcastle. Almiron's decided to keep it, and now he looks for Trippier, plays it too short. Manchester City are away. Trippier had run a long way to get involved in that one, Ali.
I think Trippier is well within his rights to give Almiron an earful there. The bottom line is, once Almiron doesn't use Trippier after him making the run, that's fine, but he can't lose the ball as cheaply as he did.
Just out of picture, he got back into the right back position, looked at his manager Eddie Howe and just looked to the skies.
Yeah.
Here's Gvardiol. It's going to be a Newcastle ball.
As I say, if you're Kieran Trippier and you've made that run, it's your job to make the run, you don't mind it, and you don't mind being a decoy. However, if you lose the ball, you've got to get back 50 yards, and that's how he's disappointed. He's well within his rights to be disappointed.
Started every Premier League match last season. Kieran Trippier started his career here as a youngster at Manchester City. Edison looking for Grealish. Trippier winning the header. It goes Akanji, on by Kovacic. Foden beaten to it by those long legs of Dan Burn. Conversation between two men who've been side by side for so long.
Yeah. Great partnership there.
In by Guimaraes towards Burn, and Edison had made his mind up early.
Yeah, not enough pace on the delivery. If they put more pace on it, it gives Ederson a decision to make, Fletch, but with that much height on it, goalkeeper comes for it and confident takes it comfortably.
There's Phil Foden, now Jack Grealish. Newcastle defenders backing off. Grealish to Rodri and then to Akanji. Walker's made his way forward in a high position on the right-hand side. That's been a feature of Walker's play tonight.
Doesn't half stretch a game.
There's Rodri, Foden, forward it went towards Grealish and back again. They've worked that wonderfully, Manchester City. Here's Haaland, takes a touch, hits the shot, bobbles wide. Maybe it's not going to be his night.
It's amazing, but the whole game ignites when Foden gets the ball. You can just see it, the energy levels just accelerate. Watch this, bang, they're off and running. Away he goes. It's a brilliant run. That touch there across is magic. It really is. Creates the angle for the shot. Because Scher's completely off balance there. Can't get across. He's back across. He's got a chance and he doesn't hit it cleanly at all. I think it's Botman actually.
Ali Foden's absolutely relishing the freedom and the space that he can have in that position. Where he's playing centrally and he can pick his move, pick his moment. And when he does get on the ball, invariably he's making something happen. You
can feel it. Fletch, there's a different feeling in the stadium. The supporters, when he's got the ball at the feet, you know, there's an excitement and there's an energy when he gets it. You can see it when he gets it. There's an actual energy.
It's been a really nice balance in an attacking sense tonight from Manchester City. And Callum Wilson is ready to come on. Elliot Anderson is also stripped and ready for Newcastle. Down below us. No signs at this stage of any changes for Manchester City.
I mean, Haaland's movement there, his touch initially to get across Botman's very, very good, but the finish, you've got to say, for his standards was poor.
Foden
away
in
again.
Space again. And on the move, gives it to Haaland. Haaland drops the shoulder and shoots, and this time forces the save from Pope. But every time he gets on the ball, Phil Foden, something happens.
Well, Fletch, you and I were speaking, and I did say that he would miss De Bruyne, Haaland, but I'll tell you right now, in the opening hour or so we've seen this game, you know, a perfect replacement for that could be Phil Foden, because he's used to the ball in that space, and he knows Haaland's movement now, and he knows Haaland will go one way to come back across. And so far, you've got to say, he's created a couple of opportunities for Haaland. Had he had his shooting boots on, he would have scored. He's on his right foot there, does well, gets across. Comfortable save with his feet from Nick Pope there. Keeps Newcastle on it.
There's Harvey Barnes. Back to Dan Burn. Still 25 minutes to go. Manchester City at this stage unable to add to the first half goal from Julian Alvarez. There's a bit of space on this side for Almiron to run into, and he's got Isak and Harvey Barnes coming up, so is Guimaraes. Here is Bruno Guimaraes, who can shoot. He never really got the ball in the right position to hit it, Ali.
No, first of all, he takes it with his studs, and then he only knocks it something like 6 inches in front of him. That's not a great touch, that's poor. His second touch is actually really, it sets him up for the shot, and he just couldn't get out his feet. Really, really poor. Because that was an opportunity, it was a good break there. Another change there.
So Callum Wilson for Alexander Isak and Elliot Anderson for the summer signing 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰, who's found it a lot more difficult out there tonight than he did against Aston Villa. Talk about Phil Foden, Ali. He's 23, 5 Premier Leagues, 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, a Champions League and a Super Cup. Ederson is the coolest man in the place when he's under pressure inside his own penalty area.
He really is.
Here's Kovacic. Loves to drive through central midfield, big Croatian. He's good at it too. Walker looking to switch it towards Grealish on this side, and Trippier nice and controlled with the header back to Nick Pope. On the subject of what players win, did you see all the stuff this week on social media about Scott Carson? 7 trophies for Manchester City, and he's played a grand total of 107 minutes. Three titles, 3 league titles in there, but they tell me he's a really important person around the dressing room.
Excellent.
Very, very popular here.
Good luck to him.
Here's Wilson with the cross. And nobody in there ahead of Kyle Walker, who can deal with it at the back for Manchester City.
The unfortunate thing for Wilson is there. That was the kind of ball he would have loved himself.
Yeah. Here's Akanji. Well, it stays like this, though, and we said this last weekend at the Emirates when we saw Arsenal play Forest, and they got 2 goals to find. When it is still close like this, anything can happen in a game when you've got players of the calibre of Newcastle United. Akanji to Grealish. It's been a real control about Manchester City, though, with the ball. Alvarez, firm challenge on Jack Grealish by Fabian Schär. Grealish went down and stayed down.
It was a bit of a hospital ball from Alvarez, I've got to say. Gave Grealish at the wrong side of him. Big challenge there from Schär.
Tuesday night, Champions League qualifiers, Rangers PSV, 7:30 from Ibrox. That's on TNT Sports 1. And next week from 11 in the Premier League, you can see Bournemouth against Tottenham. You're going to be at Ibrox in midweek. That's going to be a nervy night, isn't it?
Better believe it. Fletch, I mean, Rangers, I thought fairly comfortable against Servette. However, completely and utterly different proposition. This PSV side, Rangers knocked him out at this stage last year. Different proposition, believe me.
Yep. Ali part of the team. Rangers PSV, first leg Tuesday night, 7:30. And we'll see if Rangers can book a place in the group stage draw, which is on the 31st of August. We'll find out who everybody's going to play, and then it starts on the 19th of September on the Tuesday night. We'll follow it right the way through to the final at Wembley Stadium next May for the Champions League final. Here's Kovacic, Ruben Diaz. Rodri's given the ball away. Now it's a 1v1 for Callum Wilson. Josko Gvardiol was just able to get his foot to that, just to slow him down. Here's Harvey Barnes, who fancies the shot, and Edison is down to save it. Well, it was almost.
Oh, Fletch. I actually think they made a mess of that.
Yeah.
They've made a mess of it. They've got a 2v1. I don't know what Rodri's thinking about getting caught possession. Almiron does really well. But just go the other side of him. Oh, you've got to be screaming at Callum Wilson there to tell him just to take his time, make a run by him, give him the option.
Well, Phil Foden's just been absolutely smashed. I think, in all fairness to Bruno Guimaraes, it was one of those collisions that you couldn't avoid.
Yeah.
They're going to look at it, but I mean,
no.
I said he's been smashed. I think he's been double smashed.
Yeah. Yes. I know, but I've got sympathy, as you say.
Yeah, I don't know whether he can stop.
He can't stop.
No.
Free kick, yes, but I'm getting back to that chance. That was a serious chance. What an opportunity that was for Newcastle. That was a wasted opportunity, Fletch.
Still looking at the collision between Bruno Guimaraes and Phil Foden. He's got the yellow card, and they did take a look at it, but not sure he could have done a great deal about it in terms of slowing down. So 19 minutes to go, and you wonder in open play whether Newcastle get a better opportunity than the one they've just wasted. Here's Walker, and now Kovacic. Foden. Rodri. Ruben Diaz to Mateo Kovacic. Lovely pocket again for Foden, and they find him again. Here's Alvarez. Foden's carried on running. Foden was the intended target there for Alvarez. And now here's Almiron. The players being urged forward by Eddie Howe down below us. Almiron still running here. Turns the ball inside towards Longstaff, and that's intercepted by Gvardiol, who can bring it forward for Manchester City. And now they're on the move with Rodri.
It was actually a very good play all round, Fletch. Almiron did exceptionally on the right-hand side. Good break. Equally matched by the defender of Gvardiol.
Rodri. Kovacic back to Ruben Diaz. City have won their last 10 Premier League games here at the Etihad. It was one of the reasons why they were able to catch and pass Arsenal so impressively last season. It's their longest winning sequence in the league at home for more than 11 years. Over the full season last season, they took 52 points from a possible 57. It's very, very rare that you see them drop points here. I was here the day that Brentford beat them just before the World Cup break, and everybody was stunned.
Beat them home and away, didn't they? It's remarkable. I think Everton was the other game 1-1 draw, but certainly their home form has been nothing short of fabulous.
Here's Trippier. Callum Wilson is on the move. Manuel Akanji, so dependable back there defensively for Manchester City. Rodri. Oh, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Crowd enjoyed that little passage of play. Longstaff in with a challenge. Grealish picks up the pieces. Fouled there by Trippier.
Catches him, done it as well, Jack. Just to stop carrying the movement in the ball, because Trippier had read it. He just catches him.
So Phil Foden and Jack Grealish over the Manchester City free kick. It's Foden's delivery, Trippier's header away. Kovacic heading it down here to Alvarez. Now Walker. Not much more that Grealish could do with the ball. And that's nice and calm from Trippier for Newcastle.
No, I was thinking it's just about time. He's maybe going to have to throw a little bit of caution to the wind, Fletch. As you rightly say, 1-0, there's very much still in the game.
Long ball aimed towards Almiron. 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 dealt with it initially, but Almiron was trying to turn it forward towards Wilson, headed away then by Akanji. Here goes Anderson for the first time since coming on, supported by Almiron. Back to Elliot Anderson. Newcastle looking to generate the chance. It was just a fraction too high. They got black and white shirts in the middle. Needed to be a better ball. Here's Barnes, looking to take on Walker. Bruno Guimaraes. Little touch now to Kieran Trippier, who stands another one up. That's headed away by Rodri. First bit of pressure in the match here from Newcastle.
Yeah, down the right-hand side again. Some good movement, some lovely football. One poor delivery, one better one.
Almiron's going to try and keep the ball in play and do remarkably well to do so.
He did.
I thought that had gone.
I thought it was away. No, he did really well.
Share to Botman. Still 14 minutes to go plus additional time. Miscommunication there between Sean Longstaff and Miguel Almiron.
I think there's an element of fatigue in that from Almiron. I mean, he has worked very, very hard. There's no doubt about that, but you could see he wasn't wanting rather to be involved in the play. That'll give them some encouragement though down the right-hand side, those lads in there.
Alvarez to Foden. He was tackled by Byrne. Manchester City escape with it now with Rodri, but not quite enough on that ball, otherwise Haaland would have had a run. Alvarez is slow to rise. There he is, back to his feet now. Wilson with the layoff. Longstaff. Here's Almiron. Grealish has dropped back into a defensive position and tackles him well.
Did well. I think Almiron saw it with Jack Grealish and said, I fancy a bit of this, but Grealish did really well.
Here's Cher. Now Byrne. Barnes. Anderson looking to make something happen. Gets himself half a yard and pulls it back. It's Almiron coming onto it. Hits straight at Grealish.
Excellent from Barnes.
Trippier. Guimaraes. Foden's going to work hard and win it back, and now he's off and running. Phil Foden for Manchester City. Haaland is up there with him. That's really good defending, really good positional play by Fabian Schär.
And it was brilliant again from Foden. Not for the first time I was saying that, Fletch, because he could have went down under the challenge from Van Burn, but broke into the space. Eventual final ball was cut out, but great play again.
All of a sudden, Ali, there's space all over the place.
Yeah. I'm just wondering on a little bit of fatigue and sitting out after Wednesday. That's a possibility, because the game's definitely getting stretched.
Bruno Guimaraes. Fabian Schär. Now Harvey Barnes. Looking for the run of Elliot Anderson towards the byline, who can deliver another cross. Grealish heads it away. Alvarez can bring it down. Foden can then thump it forward towards Haaland, who's going to chase this.
What a pass that is from Foden, you know. It really is.
Almiron. Longstaff. Tell you what, Ali, Anderson's injected something since he's been on, hasn't he?
Yeah, without doubt.
Very talented young player. Offside flag up against Newcastle.
And he doesn't need to be, Fletch. That's the infuriating thing from Newcastle's point of view. Almiron's looking right along the line there. There's the distance he's covered as well. No surprises there.
Newcastle have Liverpool at home and Brighton away after this. It's a difficult slate of fixtures for them. Haaland is going to be penalised here. And don't forget, tonight from 1 o'clock we've got UFC 292, headlined by Sterling against O'Malley. That's on TNT Sports 1. And next Saturday, the coverage starts at 6 o'clock, top of the bill. Live from Wrocław in Poland, Alexander Usyk against Daniel Dubois. That's on TNT Sports box office for various world heavyweight title belts. One of the best in the business against a man who'd love to fulfill his dreams in Poland next Saturday night. Just two fellas having a chat about football down there.
Great, isn't it?
And they've got great knowledge between the pair of them. Here's Phil Foden. Every time he carries the ball, he brings menace. Alvarez. Important block on that side, initially by Botman. Newcastle just have to make sure they look after the ball in there. Dan Burns being forced wide. Given away now to Rodri. 9 minutes to go. Here's Walker. Now Kovacic, Foden. Rodri. Kovacic, now Akanji. Kovacic losing out, they're trying to win it back. Just have a look at this, Ali. I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
I think
the young fella said to him, Pep, sort it out. So Pep said, well, come and sit down here and you do it.
I think from City's point of view, the vast majority of the fan base and indeed playing staff will hope that boy sits in his backside.
It was great to see the smiles on faces, though, and the little
excellent
exchange between the two. Fantastic. That's a good header away by Rodri, who does that really well in his own penalty area for Manchester City. Foden just ghosting away. Alvarez. It's going to be a Newcastle ball, no foul. Up goes Kyle Walker, heads it back to Ederson. I think what is ominous for the rest, Ali, is the better start that Manchester City make, the more concerned you are for everybody else, because they always peak when it really matters after Christmas and finish the season so well. So
100%.
I always get the feeling if somebody's going to beat them, they need a lead of some description at a certain stage of the season, because you know they're going to come like a juggernaut in the final few weeks.
Yeah, well, Arsenal, to be fair to them, did that last year, Fletch. Arsenal, I thought, had an exceptional season. But a combination of them kind of running out of steam, but more importantly, the end of season form, as you correctly say, from City, which was remarkable.
6 minutes plus stoppage time away from a perfect start through the opening 2 matches, Manchester City, unless Newcastle can do something about it. Here's Kovacic and now Rodri. Dan Burn with a little flick over there to Botman. Barnes. And swept on by Wilson. It might have been interesting had that managed to find a way through to Almiron.
He just had to toe poke it through. From City's point of view, he was fortunate he couldn't go out there early, because he would have curled the pass toward goal, and it might have been interesting.
There's Jack Grealish. Rodri. Rodri not too happy about the lack of movement ahead of him while he was in possession, and you just let 1 or 2 people ahead of him in sky blue know about that. And Foden battling with Botman, who's been physical over there all evening for Newcastle. He's penalised here though. Well, some different challenges this season, haven't they, Newcastle, when you think about combining the Champions League with everything else, and of course they're dealing with expectation this season as well.
Absolutely, Fletch. That's what I did say before the game. My concern for Newcastle and the process of them improving, and there will be continued improvement. I don't have any doubt about that. However, it's an interesting one. You know, I think they are well ahead of schedule, and you've got to count your blessings, but I'm not really sure. If you'd asked Eddie Howe, in all honesty, would they go on to Champions League football maybe next year? Listen, they've got it now, and it's going to be good to see.
Well, this is a nice moment, Ali. A Newcastle debut for 𝓳𝓸𝓷𝓷𝓷𝓰, who they signed for over £30 million from Southampton in the summer. England under-21 international. He was out for over a year with an ACL, only came back in May. And he's one of the summer signings, and on to make his debut in the famous black and white shirt. And he's on for Miguel Almiron, who Ali mentioned a few minutes ago. Might just have been feeling the pace a wee bit on this side. He'd done plenty of running, hadn't he?
100%. No, I don't think there's any doubt. That was one of the reasons that Eddie Howe's brought him off. He's put a real shift in, but you could see a little bit of fatigue coming in there towards the last maybe 10-15 minutes or so. But getting back to the recruitment from Newcastle has been excellent as well. It really, really has. It's work in progress. Newcastle fans will be delighted with how it's going, and there will be continued improvement, no doubt.
Livramento trying to involve himself straight away. Akanji sliding in for Manchester City. Here's Rodri. Eddie Howe said last week that he'd like 1 more player before the window closes. We now know that that player is young Lewis Hall. Loan deal with an obligation to buy. Only 18 years of age, but played impressively when he was in the Chelsea team last season. So he's another one that fits the demographic of what Newcastle are trying to do. Here's Rodri for Manchester City, on to Alvarez. Doesn't look at this stage, Ali, as though he's going to make any changes.
No.
Pep Guardiola surprised us on Wednesday. And
we did surprise us on Wednesday.
And they've gone through again tonight. Lovely ball around the corner by Rodri to Alvarez, and they've got runners here. Manchester City, Foden and Grealish wide. Haaland on his way through the middle. That's opened up the space for Foden. Walker steaming forward. Foden didn't wait for him. And Newcastle make the block.
He probably should have. Maybe the first mistake we've seen from Foden in a little while. Walker does exceptionally well. He really does.
Look how far he has to come from, Alan.
I hope he's screaming at him, They probably should have just put him in at that particular moment. Mind you, we can cut him a little bit of slack because he's been terrific tonight.
Yeah, Walker's last Premier League goal, by the way, was October 2020 at Sheffield United. That's how desperate he wants to get up there and get another one.
I think, to be fair to Phil, he's probably thinking that then.
Sloppy one from Manchester City, moving towards the final minute of normal time. I think I could sit and watch a camera of him, you know, for 90 minutes. The gesticulations and what he says and how he carries himself down there, Pep Guardiola.
Just loves it, doesn't he?
There's Haaland. Foden's gone running ahead of him. Haaland delivers the ball. Foden's in behind. The angle was against him, but the leg was thrust out there by Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal.
His movement's tremendous, just to get his body across Dan Burn. The ball here, this touch, coming here, there. Oh, it's the touch to get his body across Dan Burn's excellent.
We're expecting 5 minutes of additional time. Jack Grealish out to take this Manchester City corner. It's played back here to Alvarez, and then that's going to be the goalkeeper's ball. Didn't seem a great desire of the Manchester City players to go in the box for the corner.
Absolutely.
Walker's going to get across to that one ahead of Callum Wilson. Ali, what about the player of the match? I've got a fair idea who I think it's going to be.
Well, he should have, there's no doubt about it, he should have put Kyle Walker in the last couple of minutes there, but I'm willing to forgive him for that misdemeanour. My man of the match, Fletch, has got to be Phil Foden, and I'm hopeful, very, very hopeful, the majority of people in the stadium would agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's very gracious of you to forgive him the error.
He's been brilliant tonight.
Yeah, they've enjoyed watching him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think when Pep spoke before the match, when he met the media on Friday and said, look, we've just got to work one or two things out, I think Foden in that position is a big step towards doing it in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Here's Walker. Now Kovacic.
It would be absolutely remiss of us not to mention that pass again from Ederson out to Kyle Walker. Just the 65 yards there, brilliant.
Oh, you really enjoyed that, didn't you?
Oh, I've enjoyed Ederson's range of passing.
Yeah. I'm still trying to work out the names of the goalkeepers that you refused to mention earlier. Rodri plays the ball into Foden. Back it goes now to Manuel Akanji. It's a City team that will get stronger when they get Stones and Bernardo Silva and eventually Kevin De Bruyne back in the team. I also think it's worth mentioning as well that when Joe Willock's available for Newcastle, that's another important part of what they do, who's unavailable to them at the moment. Alvarez, who's got the winning goal as it stands tonight, that wonderfully struck effort in the first half. 3 minutes of additional time left to play at the Etihad, and Manchester City moving in on 6 points out of 6 to start their defence of the Premier League title, a season when they'd like to become the first team in the Premier League era to win the title 4 years in a row. Kovacic stopped in his tracks unfairly by Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah, unless there's something dramatic happens in the last couple of minutes, you've got to say that man in our screens there, Pep Guardiola, will be absolutely delighted to the start to the week he's had, obviously with the Super Cup victory and coming tonight to a very, very tough fixture for Manchester City. If they can walk away from here with 3 points, clean sheet again, I think he'll be thrilled.
Free kick taken by Kovacic out to Grealish.
Tonight's EA Sports Man of the Match is our number 47, 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰.
Well, you're asking the question whether people would agree with the Phil Foden selection. It's just been announced on the big screen and it seems to be universally popular.
Not surprised at all, Fletch. He's been absolutely fabulous. Just his touch, his movement, his awareness.
I'm about to say, this seems to be a situation Haaland quite enjoys when he has the ball at the corner flag. He seems to relish the physical contact, but he got rid of it there. City have it though with Rodri, lifted forward towards Foden. And across comes Botman for Newcastle. Trippier using his feet. Newcastle get the goal kick and they might just have one more opportunity, but they've got to get on with it. My mind keeps going back to that situation when Callum Wilson had the ball after Rodri gave it away.
That was the best opportunity. It really was, Fletch. I'm just wondering if Almiron was screaming at him just to hold it, just to hold the ball, to give him an opportunity to go back and give him the option. Big moments within games, and that was certainly a big one from Eddie Howe's point of view.
What you would say as well, when you look at Pep Guardiola down there gesticulating to his players, he's lost Kevin De Bruyne for 4 months. And he started the season with a 3-0 win at Burnley, a penalties win in the Super Cup in midweek to put another trophy in the cabinet against Sevilla, and here he is today in what was a big test against Newcastle. He started the season so well, and it looks like they're going to start the Premier League season by scoring 4 and conceding none in the first 2 matches. Correct. 6 out of 6. He'll be delighted with that.
Without doubt, and we're speaking about how many attack-minded and great attack-minded players they have. And there's plenty of them, Phil Foden being one of them. But if you start your campaign with clean sheets, you're not doing a lot wrong.
We're now at the discretion of Robert Jones, the referee. Elliot Anderson in possession. There's the full-time whistle. And a shake of the hand there between Pep Guardiola and Jason Tindall, followed by a little embrace with the Newcastle manager Eddie Howe, and a punch of the air from the Manchester City manager, who's seen his team this week win a Super Cup on penalties. And tonight he's seen Julian Alvarez come into his team and score a magnificent goal in the first half, thumping it beyond the goalkeeper, Nick Pope, who got his fingertips to it. They might have had more. Phil Foden outstanding tonight. A player of the match performance, a warm embrace there from Erling Haaland. Manchester City have won a club record 17th home match in a row, and it's 11 on the trot in the Premier League here at the Etihad. 6 points out of 6, the champions remain the team to beat, Ali.
Without doubt, Fletch, great start to the campaign. Comfortable victory at Burnley. Going to Athens, obviously, on Wednesday, Fletch. It's a massive, massive game. And perhaps we're looking at substitutions, a lack of substitutions. Perhaps we were underestimating just how important the game was for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City to win. They did do that. They come back, energy, sap and heat, and they get 3 points, a clean sheet against a team that a lot of people, myself included, would see as one of their main rivals to keep the championship.
Last chance to name the keepers.
Not doing it. It's a blatant refusal. I shall not do it.
Julian Alvarez, the match winner, the champions perfect after 2 games to start the season. Full time, Manchester City 1, Newcastle United 0.
Ali, yes, the champions off to a flyer this season. They've definitely started as they mean to go on with 2 wins out of 2, despite the trip to Athens, despite the injury to Kevin De Bruyne. They are showing no signs of letting up with that 1-0 win over Newcastle. Rio, this was seen as a big test for Manchester City tonight, their first home game of the season. What did we learn about them as a team?
Not much, I've got to be honest with you. We know, other than that they can deal with people coming out of the team, big amount of goals, contributions coming out of the team, and they've got players who can come in and still make a difference. People are asking questions, will they still have the same intensity? Will they have the same hunger? I think they proved it today. Everyone saw Newcastle as being a huge test today, given the fact the Super Cup during the week, the conditions there, and to come here and to have that quick turnaround. Could they exploit that? Newcastle, they never got close today, I've got to be honest.
To overcome those things, is that the mark of champions, Peter? Putting the rest of the Premier League on alert once again?
I thought it really was. I mean, that was a Newcastle side full of confidence, full of energy, probably had more rest than Manchester City had, but the players that came in tonight really, really stepped up, and none more so than Phil Foden, I thought.
He was was outstanding tonight, wasn't he? As we see the Newcastle players there applauding the travelling 𝓳𝓸𝓲𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰 tonight. That's 15 games in a row they have lost at this stadium. This ground, just a hurdle that they can't get over, Rio.
Yep, sometimes there's a ground that really is kind of, you can't break the hoodoo, and this is one of them, it seems, for them. But they're playing against a dominant City side, governed by that guy there in the pictures. The way, the application of the players never changes, the consistency. Listen, Newcastle, I'm sure, will still up and being up and about at the top of the league by the end of the season. But today they never really laid a glove on Manchester City, if I'm honest.
I thought City were in control of most of it, really, other than a sort of 10-minute, 15-minute period. I thought Harvey Barnes did well when he came on. You know, gave them more of a threat. Almiron got back in the game, but in all honesty, Manchester City were all over them and totally dominant.
He talked so much about the challenge this week, Pep, didn't he? And how much he wanted them as a top team to overcome that challenge. He's really trying to get the fans involved here in that first home game. Just why do you think it meant so much to him, this game?
I just think they're sound bites that come out of his press conferences, and then he's trying to find different ways to motivate his team. Listen, you've got to understand as well, this is the year where they can make it 4 in a row to win the league. So he has to find different ways to motivate that team. Yes, he wants it to come from within, but every now and again he has to be saying something, not only to his players, but to the fan base here. So just give them that little lift or spring in their step going into a certain particular game. And today he knew that this could be a potential banana skin with the potential of the team he's playing against, and they got through it. And look at that there, that there tells you a lot. Pep, Phil Foden, he needs a creator, he needed a spark today, and there's the guy, give it to him.
Yeah, it's felt fractured, that relationship, in the past. You know, it feels like Phil wants to play more, and Pep, for whatever reason, left him out quite a bit last season. But on the evidence of tonight, I think Phil Foden is in for a big, big year.
Yeah, absolutely. He stepped up when his manager needed him. So did Alvarez as well. The future of this City team looking really bright as well.
Yeah, it really is. I said I think it was at half-time. You know, he walks into any Premier League side. The only problem is he's got Haaland in front of him here, but he'll get games and he'll get goals.
Well, we can get some reaction to that Man City win. Manuel Akanji is with Jules.
Manuel, congratulations. A first win back in front of your home fans here since winning the treble and the Super Cup. We've just seen you celebrating on the full-time whistle there. How does that feel?
No, it felt amazing. Obviously, Newcastle, they showed it over the last season. They're a great team, and it wasn't easy against them. But I think right from the start, we did a good job. It wasn't easy after that week when we played on Wednesday, 8 o'clock in the evening in Greece. We came home on Thursday. So the recovery was not as planned, and it's still early in the season, but I think we showed a great game today.
After Newcastle scored 5 goals last week, was it extra pleasing to keep a clean sheet tonight as well?
Yeah, of course, always as a defender. It's a good thing to keep the clean sheet. I think we defended really well as a team. Also with the ball, we played great. Newcastle obviously had sometimes the ball as well. They're a top 4 team in this country, so it's normal, but I think overall we did great. I can't remember any 100% chance of them, so yeah, we keep building on that.
You've started all 3 matches so far this season, and in the last couple particularly, we've seen you playing in what I think we all call the John Stones role now, drifting into midfield. How are you finding it?
I like it. It came a little bit surprising, obviously with John Stones' injury, so yeah, I think I had like 2-3 training sessions in there, and then I started in the final there. And yeah, today again, I started to feel pretty confident now. It's obviously adjusting as well in this position. It's something new, but I think it's like my 5th position that I play now in this team. So I like to learn new things. I like to get better. So yeah, hopefully it keeps getting better like this.
And the team are having to adjust without Kevin De Bruyne. We saw Phil Foden playing in that central role tonight. He was the man of the match. How impressive was he out there?
I think Phil is so good, especially in the midfield. He's so good with the back towards the goal. The way he turns, he moves in between the spaces, and that's what we saw again today. And I hope he keeps on doing that this season.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, Manuel Akanji, they're delighted with the win, and this is what it means for the Premier League table. It is, of course, very early days, but Brighton leading the way on goal difference. The Seagulls finishing the day at the top of the top flight for the first time ever, following back-to-back 4-1 victories. Manchester City also with maximum points so far. Brentford, Liverpool and Spurs all on 4 points. Well, later on, it is UFC 292 from Boston at 1 a.m. featuring 2 title fights. Then join us tomorrow for race day in the MotoGP from Austria. Our coverage starts from 9:15 with the MotoGP race at 12:30.